Winston Cup Racing from Dover International Speedway, brought to you by Walmart. Always low prices, always. By Energizer, you have the bunny inside, and by Miller Lite. The Dover International Speedway today full of 140,000 fans ready to see which one of 43 drivers will tame the Monster Mile. First, the trackside opening ceremony.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present to you Governor Tom Ridge, Director of Homeland Security.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and a privilege to join you today, to join MBNA, NASCAR, the drivers, the great crews, and from NASCAR's point of view, the best and most patriotic fans in America. Now, I know you all have your favorites that are running today, and you've got heroes that you've followed for years and years. But we want to thank MBNA and NASCAR for celebrating another group of heroes. And you don't see them on the track before you today, but when you go back home, you're going to see them in the neighborhoods and the cities, and you're going to see them in the places that you work. You're going to see the families who have sons and daughters wearing uniforms, protecting and defending this country around the world. And you'll see them in our Guard and our reserves around the world and in the United States. You're going to see them working at our ports. You're going to see them in the Coast Guard, these fine, extraordinary young men and women behind me. You're going to see them at our airports. You're going to see them in the factories and the fields. You're going to see them as they go to the work at the fire departments and the police departments. That's what MBNA is celebrating today. Those are all of our heroes. I think we probably forgot a little bit about them until September 11th of last year. But they demonstrated, not only to our enemy, but they demonstrated in a loud and American way that when somebody tries to take away our freedoms and our liberties, we are one. And whether you wear the uniform of the armed service, or you wear the uniform of public service, or the uniform of red, white, and blue as American, we take a look at those whose courage and whose sacrifice, whose resolve and whose creativity has defended us for 200 years. We know that against this threat, this country will prevail. This country So I'd like you to join with me in one final tribute to our all-American heroes. If you take that flag that's been distributed to you and hold it up in your hand. And let me hear some great NASCAR support for America's heroes.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Coley McCabe for God Bless America.
I want everybody with a voice to sing this song with me, please. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam.
now would you please rise for our invocation and moment of silence being presented to you by Chaplain Dan Schaefer, today in the uniform of the Stafford Township Police Department, Stafford Township, New Jersey. Chaplain Schaefer was the mobilizer of chaplains for the Port Authority Critical Incident Team on 9/11 and for the duration serving many, many hours at Ground Zero.
Could we all just pause for a moment of silence for those who have given their lives for our country? Almighty God, it's a year later, and we are still one nation under God. And we thank you for that great privilege of being here in America. We thank you today for MBNA. We thank you for Dover International Speedway, for NASCAR. And we pray for our military. We pray for our president. We pray for our fire and our police and our EMS services. And we thank you for bringing us here on this beautiful day. Now we ask you for a great race. May it be a safe race. In the name of Christ our Lord we pray. Amen. Shalom. God bless America.
And now the United States Coast Guard Academy Cadet Glee Club for our national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, the A-10 from the 103rd Fighter Wing of Connecticut Air National Guard. And now, I'd like to introduce you for the most famous words in all of auto racing, Vice President and Director of Motorsports here at Dover International, Mr. Melvin Joseph.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you for your patience and your celebration. And now, for gentlemen, start your engine.
That doesn't have you charged up for the start. A look at the starting lineup and the green flag for today's race at Dover when we come back on TNT. In just his 35th start, Ryan Newman goes to victory lane.
Great job, guys. Beautiful.
One of the closest championship races in history.
Clear, clear. Keep going. No caution. No caution. Don't slow down.
Here comes Jimmy Johnson looking for checkers in the first state of Delaware.
40 cars offer no help whatsoever.
The new boss looks a lot like the old boss.
Who will hold the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship lead at the end of today's 400 miles? It could be any one of 6 drivers. Welcome to the MBNA All-American Heroes 400 live on TNT from Dover Downs International Speedway in Delaware. But Budweiser, the official beer of NASCAR, is the proud sponsor of the Bud Pole Award, given to the fastest qualifier in each Winston Cup race. Rusty Wallace with his first pole since November 2000, edging second place by 8 1,000ths of a second on Friday. Since 1979, Anheuser-Busch has awarded more than $7 million as title sponsor of NASCAR's Pole Award program. And now, while you look at the Walmart starting grid for today's race, let's talk to the guy starting on the outside of the front row.
Dale Jarrett, Benny Parsons, you got me?
I've got you, Benny.
DJ, a lot of drivers have talked about this new tire that Goodyear's brought this weekend and comparing to tires used 3 or 4 years ago. Is that your assessment?
Well, certainly the tire has a little bit more grip, and we already see a lot more rubber down on the racetrack than what we've seen here in the last few years. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. With the new setups we run, I think everything with the construction still being basically the same, just a softer compound, we're going to see a heck of a race here today.
Well, you won back in 1998. They're playing right into your hands, aren't they?
I hope so. That's what we're looking forward to anyway. Of course, the cars have changed. A lot has changed, but we still do think we know how to win here. So hopefully that'll happen today for this UPS team.
Happy with your car yesterday?
I was pretty happy in the first practice session with my car. We tried some things in the second session that weren't quite as good. So we went back to that and made a couple of slight adjustments. So I'm looking to have a good car in the long runs today.
Thanks, DJ. Good luck to you.
Come on, Benny. Have a good day.
Dale Jarrett starting alongside Rusty Wallace on the front row, former winner here at Dover. Things to note about this starting grid as you look through it. Casey Atwood scheduled to start 20th. He's in a backup car after a crash yesterday in practice. He'll go to the back of the field. And most of the top 5 in the championship, all of the top 5 in the championship for that matter, going to start from 19th spot on back.
And there's your championship leader, Mark Martin, back in 32nd position.
And the final cars to qualify for the race on time, the Kevin and Kenny row. And then we go to provisional land. Michael Waltrip finished 8th place last week. Says he's got a pretty good car for today. See what kind of progress he's able to make through the pack.
And Ward Burton, the cat car, seems to me has been struggling all weekend. We'll see if they made any changes this morning, if it's any better.
Tim Sauter and Dave Marcus's car. Tony Raines in for his second Winston Cup start here at Dover. And Hideo Fukuyama from Suzuka City, Japan, starting last on the field in a Travis Carter entry. 3 drivers unable to qualify. Brett Bodine, unfortunately, had used up all the provisionals he has allotted to this point in the season, and he was not able to be in today's race. Heartbreaking for him, I'm sure.
And yesterday's winner in the NASCAR Busch Series race, Scott Wimmer, unable to qualify.
A couple of more pace laps before the green flag. We'll check down on pit road now. Here's Matt Yoakum.
Well, Alan, the rookie Greg Biffle continues to impress, filling in for the injured Bobby Hamilton Sr. He qualified 5th on Friday and really likes his chances at a racetrack known to be stingy to first-time winners. But if successful, it'll be the first time since the fall of 1999 that we've seen back-to-back first-time winners. Dave.
Matt, Kurt Busch qualified 6th, and according to his crew, who I spoke to this morning, has a fast race car and race trim. But Kurt has to be careful. Twice here at Dover, he has lost the right front tire on his car. He has to take care of that right front. It happened once in a truck. It happened once earlier this year at this track in his Winston Cup car. If he does take care of the right front, talk around the garage is this car has a chance to win. Marty?
Well, Dave, Bill Elliott could add a lot of red to this red, white, and blue day here at Dover. The car is very good for Bill. He finished 2nd here in June, but that was on a different tire. We've already talked about that. The setup notes they had from June, they're junk. They had to come up with a new setup completely different than anything they've ever run here at Dover, but Bill says we're pretty confident about the win. After all, this car's adapted very well. The worst it's finished this year is 3rd. Bill?
Marty, Ricky Rudd is a 4-time winner here and might have had his 5th win at this track in this race 1 year ago, but got turned around by Rusty Wallace. Now, there are 2 storylines swirling around Ricky Rudd. The first is that he's 10th in points, 227 out of the lead, and still a contender for the championship. The other storyline is that Robert Yates Racing and the Wood brothers might be ready to make the switch, sending Elliott Sadler to Yates and Rudd to the 21. That's where each will race next season. What's going to be the deciding factor? I don't think it's how good Ricky Rudd is. I think it's how well Ricky runs. He can either chase the championship and pick up the points, or he might be picking up his seat and moving to the Wood brothers very soon. Alan?
Talking about storylines there, Bill, let's check some of the storylines that we'll also follow throughout this 400 miles at Dover.
Championship. I mean, it is the closest championship ever in the history of NASCAR. Winston Cup competition. 6 drivers could lead here with the lead after today's race.
Tires. What we saw in the Busch race yesterday, I don't think the tires are going to be an issue. I think a lot of the drivers like this new tire, and we're just going to have to see if they don't wear out the inside of the right front too much.
And the groove. Michael Walter primarily. How high will Michael Walter take that 15 car? He's in the back, and you know when they go down in turn 1 and all the guys start fighting for the bottom of the groove, he's going to the top and said, catch me up here if you can.
He'll be the one to dust it off first, and then we'll see if it's effective as it was yesterday in the NASCAR Busch Series race. So we're getting set to go. 400 laps around this 1-mile racetrack. Make up the distance today. $3.9 million. The prize money available for the 43 drivers.
Pit window 90 to 100 laps. I don't think many cars are going to be able to squeeze 100 laps. If they could, then you're looking at a 3-stop race on the green flag. But most guys are going to be very close to that 90, I think, which means you're going to stop 4 times. And tires, Wally, they've got tires stacked up from one end of pit road to the other.
Yeah. Race teams figured it's going to seem like the old days. Every time there's a chance, they'll be firing 4 tires at the race car. Pace cars off. 140,000 here at the Monster Mile, ready to see who will win this latest round in the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship. Rusty Wallace brings him to the green.
Boy, Dale got a terrible start.
Cloud of dust is at the backstretch crossover gate where vehicles go in and out of the Speedway. Nothing to worry about there. That'll be gone after a couple of laps. And Rusty Wallace leads lap 1. Earnhardt Jr. is second. Greg Biffle is third. Dale Jarrett slots in 4th.
And Robbie Gordon was the guy that used that high groove down in turns 1 and 2. He was about 3 wide on the outside. And here comes Junior right on the back bumper of Rusty Wallace.
Beer battle. Lap 2, Junior to the inside of Rusty for the lead. The defending winner of this race, Dale Earnhardt Jr., started 3rd last year just as he did today. A year ago, he led 193 laps on his way to victory lane.
To Tony Eury Jr., the car chief on this Budweiser car, just before the Golden Benny Award, and he told me that Dale Jr. was very happy with the car, and they were optimistic about pulling off this 2nd in a row, 2 Septembers in a row.
Kind of looks like things are bunched up with Greg Biffle on back there in 3rd place. Looks like Dale Jarrett might be a little faster. Here's John Andretti under Jeremy Mayfield. That's at 10th place. Steve Park right behind him in the 1.
Still looks like everybody's a little bit better down on that bottom groove right now. Wow, Park got loose there. Looks like Elliott Sadler's going to take advantage of that.
That 43 car, John Andretti. Keep watching later in the race for your chance to win a day with the King, Richard Petty. Richard owns that car. Your chance to have the King come to your hometown. Keep track of where his cars are running.
On board with Elliott Sadler. This race sponsored by the Air Force because Dover Air Force Base nearby.
Call that the bomber paint scheme. There's one of the stealth bombers pictured on the hood of that car.
Jeff Green liked that high groove yesterday in the Busch Series race, and he's already up there. That's Jeff in the 30 car.
And usually on a place like this, you wait for somebody to get up there and clean that top groove off a little bit. It's going to take a little bit of time to get that track cleaned up over there, but it looks like Jeff wanted to be the first guy up there.
Jeff Green in the 30, working to the outside of Steve Park in the 1 for 12th place. Jeremy Mayfield just ahead of them in the 19. He runs 11th.
Looks like he's coming in pretty quick up there.
Nothing happening up front. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Rusty Wallace still running 1 and 2. And Jeff Green still trying to use that rim riding technique to get a spot on Mayfield.
Well, you get in, and the guy that's on the bottom gets through the center a little bit better, but if you can run on the top, usually you carry a lot of momentum, and you're actually faster down the straightaways.
Shuffling it up for third.
That was third. Ryan Newman, the winner last week, takes the 12 Alltel car to third spot. Biffle is now back-to-back 5th or 6th, about to lose a spot to Kurt Busch. That's Biffle in 55, Busch in 97.
And Joe Nemechek just behind them in the 25.
Boy, Nemechek in the 25 car right behind these two was so happy with his car this morning. It's been a dismal year for Joe and these guys in the 25 car. They have struggled, but they got a new crew chief, a new car chief, and he was very optimistic this morning.
Peter Suspenzo taking over, leading that team as crew chief just with last week's race at New Hampshire. Peter worked with Jeremy Mayfield and Mike Wallace at Roger Penske's 12 car a year ago. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the leader. He took the lead at lap number 3. We're just underway at Dover. You're watching NASCAR on TNT.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
Just underway at Dover. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Rusty Wallace, the top two. And we are 17 laps complete of 400. We're working on it. BP both started chasing up the racetrack a good bit. We talked about how high will they get.
It looks like Rusty is staying on the bottom and is making better time right now than Junior. Last time by, he was about a 10th of a second faster. Talking about Rusty Wallace in the 2. Then Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8.
In happy hour, watching the 2 car and Ryan Newman's car, their car was on the bottom almost the whole time during happy hour. So that's where they got their cars working.
Junior had to kind of ease out of the gas there in the middle of 3 and 4. That left rear quarter had a big target on it for Rusty, it looked like.
Yeah.
And here we go. Rusty Wallace back to the lead, second time in the race. He led the first 2 laps. Junior paced 17 circuits.
Little wave there.
And now Rusty is back out in front. Tony Stewart. Going to get 13th spot on Jeremy Mayfield, and here comes Matt Kenseth, too, in the 17.
Tony Stewart started 23rd, so he has already picked up 10 positions.
Talked on the Discover Card Countdown to Green about Hideo Fukuyama, Suzuka City, Japan driver who's out here in the 66 car driving for Travis Carter. Keiichi Inumine is a sportscaster in Japan. He does the Japanese language broadcasts of NASCAR races on television over there. He did the exhibition race when Wally punted Fukuyama out of the way, and he also has done many of this season's races. He stepped into the booth here with us. Let's talk about Hideo. Have at it.
Okay. Hello, NASCAR fan. This is Keiichi Inumine speaking. Gaura Sports with TNT. さあ今、福山選手、現在まもなくラップダウンされようというところですけども、43番手、ティム・ソーター選手を追っています。今回予選順位は43位。さあ後ろからラスティオール選手、今ラップしてきます、アウトサイドから。かなり苦しい状況です、福山選手。ハンドリングがかなりターンのインサイドになかなか入れないということで、このように上に上がっていってしまうんですけども、決勝の前にかなり車のセットアップを変えたということで、今のところボトムの方を走れるようになっていますが、スピードの方がいかんせん上がっていかないようです。さあアウトサイドからデール・アンハート・ジュニア選手がラップしていこうというところ。さあ今日の目標は完走ということなんで、皆さんぜひ福山選手の走りに注目してください。バックチュアラン。
Alan, you're out of here.
I'm all done, huh?
Okay, Benny.
Tell him to drive as fast as you talk, and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Talk too fast.
Talk too fast.
I didn't understand you talk so fast.
Oh, yeah, talk slow so Benny understands you.
Maybe you didn't understand it because he's speaking Japanese.
Oh, maybe so. Maybe that's it.
Think so? Keiichi, how many of these races do you broadcast over in Japan?
We have 29 Winston Cup races in this season. Sorry. We want you to bring in one of our pit reporters. Whatever you say in Japanese to say, here's Marty. これはマーティです。
Very good, and that sounded a lot like Wally ordering sushi last night. Here's the sheet that Hideo was given early in the week. He was given the sheet on Wednesday. He had the job of learning all of these phrases in English. Robert Yaman is his spotter, or the guy translating, actually. And early in the week, Robert was in the garage translating. They figured out that wasn't working, so they moved Robert up to the spotter stand. Now he translates with his normal spotter, and it's Carl and Travis Carter to say, here's what Hideo is saying, translates it in English for the team. That's how the communication system is working. It's gotten better throughout the weekend, but they haven't tested it so far today.
All right, Fukuyama out there running in 43rd spot. Keiichi, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Benny.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, the leader is still Rusty Wallace. About to complete the 27th lap as we're just underway at Dover. Wallace, Earnhardt Jr., Newman, Jarrett, and Craven are the top 5. We're back at Dover, and we've just gone under the caution flag. Ward Burton and Jerry Nadeau have crashed down the front stretch towards turn 1.
You see him coming off the corner side by side. And Ward, I guess, doesn't realize that the 44 car is up there. He started to come up the racetrack.
Well, Nadeau got into the outside wall there, and I think he bounced off the wall into the path of the 22 car.
Oh, I didn't see that.
And man, it's so easy to do off of turn 4, because if you stand on the gas, that car just flies up against that wall coming out of 4.
Now pit road is closed, so no one has come in yet.
We watch here. Yeah, he bounced off the wall, definitely turned down into Ward.
So Ward is out of his car, and he's fine.
And there we see him hooking the wrecker up to Jerry Nadeau's car. And he got out, walked to the ambulance, talking about Nadeau in the 44.
So short day for the Daytona 500 winner, and for Jerry Nadeau also in one of the Petty cars.
And while you're right, that is a problem. These guys getting off turns 2 and 4. All of a sudden the car just seems like the wall is there in front of him. He just jumps out in front of him.
And I mean, you could do the same exact thing lap after lap after lap, and then all of a sudden it bites you.
Bobby Labonte and Mike Wallace came down pit road while it was closed. The pit lane does remain blocked, though, at the exit, so red flag is still.
And there you see the contact between Biffle and Gunsman. Once he made contact and had that damage, it went from bad to worse.
Benny, the reality, too, is he kind of brought this on himself, too.
Oh, yeah.
There's Bill Davis about to watch Scott Wimmer pick up his first NASCAR Busch Series victory. Wimmer takes the MBNA All-American Heroes 200 at Dover. Scott Wimmer, third in the championship coming in, took the victory yesterday. As we look at our NASCAR Busch Series update, Jason Keller, second in the championship, finished 5th. Greg Biffle lost about half of his championship lead. And the Busch Series cars race in Kansas this coming Saturday. You'll see it on TNT. Pit road's open. Matt?
And Allen June winner Jimmy Johnson will hit pit road in the 9th position. The car was tight on entry, great on the gas, but he needed some help with side bite. They're going to go down on air pressure on both rear tires. Today,
But loose in, tight in the middle, loose off the corner, down on air pressure, all 4 tires for Ryan. Bill.
Rusty Wallace in the 2, Earnhardt Jr. in the 8. Jr. is loose off tight in the middle. The car sliding up the turn. Rusty Wallace, the race leader, starts off loose. Then the car comes to him. No adjustments for Wallace. It's an air pressure adjustment for the 8 car. And the 8 and the 12 beat Rusty off pit road.
Points leader Mark Martinville was a little bit tight, half pound out of the right front. Started 32nd, made some pretty good progress in that short run, up to 25th. Alan?
So it looked like everybody got through that set of pit stops with no one wrinkling the fenders like we talked about in the pre-race.
Well, they're awfully careful right now, but we'll see what happens later in the race.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. is out first on the racetrack as we're under caution at Dover. The ever-frantic world of a Winston Cup tire changer.
Right front tire changer on the 55. Boo Whitaker. And they keep telling themselves, slower is faster. 2, 3, 4. See, an extra 1. He had to hit that thing 6 times. That slows down. That's when you're trying to be too fast.
It didn't look like it was slow to me.
He's got a camera on his helmet for us today, and the green flag back out at Dover. Dale Earnhardt Jr. leading off pit road. Earnhardt Jr., Ryan Newman, Dale Jarrett, Rusty Wallace, and Jimmy Johnson, the top 5. Then Ricky Craven, Bill Elliott, Jeff Green, Greg Biffle, and Tony Stewart is up to 10. 39 cars on the lead lap. Hideo Fukuyama, Tim Sauter, 1 lap down. Jerry Nadeau, Ward Burton in the garage. And Dave is with Ward right now.
Ward, tell us how you're feeling and what happened.
I'm fine. Haiti followed a cat band in the race team and my sponsors. We were racing the 44 and the 18. The car was actually a lot better than it was yesterday. And 44 hit the wall coming off forward, came down, and I was already right beside him. But I want to say 80,000. It's Jeff and Ash and Sarah back home. Tabby's grandmother passed away this week. We're thinking about her family and all them. We'll see y'all soon.
All right, thanks, Ward. Glad you're okay.
Ward Burton's car now officially retired from the race. He'll finish 43rd today at Dover. Bobby Labonte, I mentioned, made a pit stop before the pit road was open. Actually, he came in about 4 times under that yellow. What's going on there?
Alan Bobby Labonte restarted 39th. He came in, like you mentioned, several times. They pulled 2 spring rubbers out of the left rear and adjusted the track bar. He says the car is tight, then the car is loose. It's all he can do to keep it off the wall. He says the car is horrible, the worst we've ever had here at Dover. He had a lot of high hopes coming in here, coming off his first top 5 since he won at Martinsville. The operative word, had.
Now, having a bad car anywhere is not any fun, but here at Dover, yeah.
And he's looking at 400 laps on it. Well, it's only 360 now.
That's the best descriptive word you could come up with for that, huh?
That's the first thing that came to my mind.
Saw Robbie Gordon pass Jeremy Mayfield for the 19th spot in the 31 car.
And there's Mark Martin, the championship points leader, back in the 20th position. Actually 21st.
And working on Jeremy Mayfield for that 20th spot. Mark took the green flag in 30 seconds, so he's made a little progress.
Well, I mean, 21st is not too good, but Sterling Marlin is back behind that in the 31st position. That's good news, bad news.
Yeah. Jeff Gordon, a little close call there off the turn 2. Did he dust off that outside lane? I believe so.
See, you hear that throttle. You got to be careful when you get on that throttle getting off before, because if you get on it a little bit too early, well, Jerry Nadeau showed you what happens if you get it on too early.
Jeff Gordon lost a spot to Robbie Gordon. That puts Jeff back to 19th. And here we go for 20th and 21st. Mark Martin goes from trying to pass Jeremy Mayfield to trying to hold off Jimmy Spencer. Oh, look out. And Mike Skinner in there in the 4.
It looks like Mark is going to lose a couple of spots. The best thing about the high group, he's able to run about the same speed as Jimmy Spencer, about the same speed as he could on the bottom on the top of the racetrack.
And normally when you're on the high side, though, you should have a little bit more speed getting off the corner. Right here, Jimmy should gain a little. But then from, whoa, boy, Parker slid way up there. I don't know if that was by design or not, but I don't think so.
So Spencer by Martin for 21st. I think what we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of guys run that high lane, but it looks like there's just a limit there. And if you get just outside that limit,
well, you got to be halfway decent through the center when you're on the outside. You know you're going to, your car's better from off, but you got to be good through the center on the high side.
And there we see Sterling Marlin I talked about just a moment ago. He was back in 31st position. He has moved up to the 29th spot now. What are they saying about his car, Matt?
Well, Benny, he has climbed up to 29th, but he has his hands full. He says the car just will not cut. It is extremely tight. Besides the 4 tires of fuels, they pulled a rubber out of the left rear, put a rubber in the right rear, made a track bar adjustment, made a wedge adjustment, and then made a tire pressure adjustment, just trying to get that car better so Sterling can gain some ground. But right now, he has his hands full.
And that's what we were just talking about. Getting through the center here at Dover is the key.
Schrader and Waltrip racing there just behind him. Now Tony Raines going through in the 74. And that 14 car, Mike Wallace, he made 3 pit stops on that last set of yellows.
And looks like his car is running a little bit better. Talking about Mike Wallace. And by the way, while we have him on the screen, he said to be sure and say happy birthday to his wife, Carla. Her birthday yesterday.
done. Dale Earnhardt Jr. putting second lap on Hideo Fukuyama. Bill?
And high expectations for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Left here very confident yesterday afternoon. Told his car chief Tony Eury Jr., you look at your notes, do what you think the car needs, and I'll drive the wheels off of it. But you talked about getting through the middle of these turns. That's been just part of Earnhardt Jr.'s problem today. Here's some of the radio traffic from just a moment ago.
Just kind of just bounce, about like last year. And kind of neutrally and real tight in the center and you know, loose off. I'm not really tight in the middle of 3 and 4 as much as I am 1 and 2. I just lose the nose real bad, 1 and 2 in the center, loose off of 2, loose off 4, kind of just bouncing.
Bounce is not good.
No, and if they fix the push in the center, I think that's going to fix the loose off. Because what's happening, he's turning the wheel so far in the middle of the corner, when he gets to the exit, the car wants to go sideways because you got the wheels turned to the left already.
Change for third, Rusty Wallace by Dale Jarrett. Rusty led 15 laps in the early going, lost a little ground on that set of pit stops, and now he's trying to pick his way back to the front. Bill, you got more on Junior?
Yeah, Alan, just to follow that up, he said because he's loose coming off the turns, you really don't want to be loose at Dover because you know how fast you can get into the wall. But he said he was more concerned with the tightness in the middle of the turns, and the way he described that, Wally, he says it's not like a tight where the car won't turn. It's like the whole car slides up the track. So that's what they were trying to fix with an air pressure adjustment. His latest radio transmission is the car is just too tight.
Yeah, that sounds like, Bill, I don't know, what do you think, BP? The car almost has too much bite, that the rear is driving the front of the car if it's pushing up the racetrack like that.
Yeah, that could be.
Trouble. Ryan Newman, last week's winner, is around. He was running second. That's turn 2.
Well, he got away with not hitting anything.
How do you do that at Dover?
I don't know.
Yeah, just got loose.
Just got loose, he said.
Any damage to the car?
Matt Borland, the crew chief, talking to his driver.
That's unbelievable that you can spin and not hit something.
Right front flat.
Here you see him going down into turn 1. Yeah, just turned loose on him. And it didn't look like Rusty was even close enough to get the air off the spoiler.
And Rusty's trying to figure out which way to go. Finally, he sees the 12 car going up, and
how lucky is that?
How lucky is he?
What, he stopped 3 feet from the wall? That just doesn't happen.
Those tires do have more grip.
Yeah.
Slow down better.
Oh, Rusty.
Clear.
Attaboy, Earl Barbin, the spotter. And guess what? All back on pit road to put new tires on these things.
Just stopped at lap 32. Here we are completing lap 55.
I think they're going to be coming in all day like this.
Tire changer's going to be tired at the end of the day. Matt, Jimmy Johnson with a good run going.
He sure is, but he still needs a little help trying to fix that forward bite. They're going to adjust the 48 car once again with air pressure. Bill.
Not a long run under green, but Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car a little tight. Rusty had to back up in his pit stall the 2 over the front line. But working on the right side of the 2, Rusty's car is okay. But again, Junior's car is tight, and air pressure adjustment to try and fix that. Junior's on his way. It's going to be the second time the 2 has had a long stop waiting on the left side tires as half the field roars away.
Oh, man, Rusty just loses spot after spot. Sitting there on pit road, Dave.
Real trouble for Ryan Newman. The plan was to make a wedge adjustment, take a rubber out of the right rear. The rubber's still sitting in the pit box. It's outside the pit box now in the middle of his pit. That's what they pulled out of the right rear to try to fix the tight condition, the loose condition. But Jeff Green punted their tire on his way out of the pit. They had to go retrieve that. A disaster for Ryan Newman and his crew.
So a tough set of stops for the Penske team. Rusty Wallace over the front line losing time. Ryan Newman bringing out the caution and having problems on pit road as well.
Why am I so lucky? There's a beautiful girl staring at me.
Back to Wendy's race menu. What's upcoming as we continue to follow the race for the championship on TNT and NBC. Next week, Kansas City, 12:30 Eastern Time, followed by Talladega, perhaps the biggest wild card remaining in the chase for the championship.
I'll tell you what, the drivers all here in that EA Sports 500 at Talladega. Marty, what you got going for us?
Well, Mark Martin gained a lot of positions on the track, Benny, because of a two-tire stop. We didn't think we'd see that today, guys, did we? But Mark's team said the car's been great. The track position has been terrible, so we needed some. So we went for 2 tires.
Well, I think the reason we probably saw to get away with this time is to only have, what, 20-some laps on their tires. So
a perfect time to do it if you're going to gamble on it.
Yeah, it was a good move.
Yeah, 23 laps since they changed them last, and not all those under the green.
Green flag, green flag.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. leads. Jimmy Johnson second. Mark Martin now third. Ricky Craven fourth. Dale Jarrett fifth. Rest of the top 10. Tony Stewart, Ricky Rudd, Bill Elliott, Jeff Green, and Kurt Busch. Rusty Wallace is 14th. Ryan Newman is 25th.
So Mark is getting a lot of pressure right now. Mark Craven blew by him on the high side.
And here comes Jarrett on the inside.
Yeah. For the first 4 or 5 laps on these newer tires, these other guys are going to be faster. The question is, how much ground does Mark give up until it evens out?
Yeah, that's right. That's what everyone talked about. The first few laps, they're much faster. After about 10 or 15 laps, the tires that they used here in June might actually have been faster than these cars because they do continue to slow down and give up some speed.
Well, let's see. Bill Elliott by Mark for 7. Here comes Jeff Green. Ooh, he's going to close the door on him. Jeremy Mayfield. Mark's a little wide.
And Jeremy's stuck behind the car of Mark right now. He's wanting to get down that low lane.
It's Elliott Sadler in the 21 to Mark's inside. You're on board with Elliott. Okay, for now, settled back in the 11th place. Here comes Jeff Burton on Jeremy Mayfield just behind Mark.
And that's the break that Mark Martin needed to let these guys get side by side, give him a little bit of break, get back on the bottom of the racetrack, and then in a few laps, hopefully those tires that he have will be equal to the other cars.
Rusty wanting to get through quickly. Hey, Bill, what's going on with Rusty?
Well, Wally obviously trying to fight his way back to the front after that last pit stop when he went over the front line in the pit stall, then had to back up. When these cars came down pit road for the first time today under caution, NASCAR warned the drivers not to drive through any pits to get into theirs. That means Rusty had to be careful not to drive through the 8 to get into his pit. On the second round of stops, Rusty was aware of that again, and that contributed to going over the line. A lot of times that's the best pit stall to have, but on a narrow pit road, it can be a handicap when you have to get around another stall. They had a great conversation on the radio. They talked about what happened. Then Bill Wilbur and his crew chief and Rusty gave a confidence talk to each other, saying we'll be up front when it matters at the end. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I was just to say, Bill, complicating.
Oh, we got somebody sideways.
Top of the line, Jeff Gordon heading for the inside wall. Everybody else gets through.
But you can see
that's
considerable damage to the 24 car, DuPont car.
He stayed on the lead lap, if that matters.
I don't think that's going to matter.
Not going to matter a great deal because you can see that that's the angle that front end was going. It's supposed to be kind of like that.
And Gordon goes right to the garage.
Left rear tire is flat.
So that's the 5th place driver in the championship. Just 67 points from the lead starting the race, and he was back in that traffic we were talking about.
See John Andretti down on the bottom of Todd Bodine. I couldn't tell if there's any contact there or not.
Didn't look like it.
Well, I might disagree with you there.
See some damage to the rear of Andretti's car as well. I think Jeff Gordon got in the back of John Andretti's car. But we'll be able to see this a time or two again.
On board Todd's car.
Clear, clear, clear. By that angle, I would say he got hit.
And I'd also say he wasn't clear.
Yeah. If he did get hit, he certainly wasn't clear.
Stop back on your top. Keep digging, keep digging. Keep digging.
Ryan Newman barely squeezing through.
All right, here we go. That's first angle again. Did the 43 nip the 26?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think he did.
Just like I said the first time.
Todd just lost it.
Well, okay.
It's 2 against 1, Alan, so you lose.
I'm outvoted on this one. Todd Bodine and Jeff Gordon in trouble. Cautions out again at Dover. Back at Dover, 1 lap before the restart. In today's NASCAR Winston Cup race, here's our Little Debbie trivia quiz. Who was the last driver to win first races back-to-back? Thinking about Ryan Newman last week.
Well, I have to disqualify myself because I asked that question this morning and someone told me the answer.
I wouldn't have got it right.
Wow. 1964, Billy Wade. Bill Weber.
Well, back here in the garage with Jeff Gordon, the crew working on the car. First of all, tell us what happened.
Well, we shouldn't have been back there in the first place. I tell you, our season's been pretty interesting. You know, it just seems like when, you know, just when we seem to get some momentum, things going, you know, then it goes back downhill. And, you know, we weren't very good, but we were just trying to make adjustments and get the car back up, you know, in contention and out of where I was. And unfortunately, where I was in the middle of a bunch of stuff that I didn't want to be around. And Todd Bodine, I don't know if he got help or what, he turned sideways and, you know, I checked up and nobody checked up behind me and spun me, and, you know, it's going to ruin our day, but we'll get back out there.
You won at Kansas a year ago. We go there next week. Can you recapture championship momentum at this point?
I'm going to have to, aren't I? Because if I don't win there, I mean, we got to get something going our way. You know, we had a glimpse of hope for the championship, and these last 3 weeks have been horrible.
Back under the green flag, Dale Earnhardt Jr. leading. Jimmy Johnson is second. And putting a lot of pressure on Jr. for that top spot.
Taking a look. Quite good. Junior slides up the track. Not enough.
Yep. Jimmy Johnson won here back in June. Comes into the race third in the championship. Just 40 points out of the lead. Raven up there having a good run, huh?
Yes, he is having a terrific run.
A couple of guys that were in front of him had trouble that helped his track position a little, Rusty and Ryan, but still got to be able to take advantage of it.
And he's right there on the back bumper of the 48 car of Jimmy Johnson. Talking about the 32 of Ricky Craven. And DJ, he's just the old veteran. He's back there watching all this.
He's watching, but so is Tony Stewart. I don't think he'll stay back here long and watch. He can help it.
Listening to Jimmy Johnson's team on the radio a minute ago, just after that last pit stop.
Awesome job, boys. You're on. You guys are on. That's two very low 13-second stops in a row. Great job. Damn, you guys are good.
That was Chad Knaus, the first guy, and then Jimmy Johnson echoing his statement.
Jimmy Johnson falling back off Dale Jr. now after a first couple laps. And into the clutches of Maynard Ricky Craven. Well, well, well.
How about that?
As they're running right now on the track, that would be the championship standings.
Wow, that's big. For a Rebestos rookie to be leading the point standings at this time of the season would be kind of incredible. But this race certainly isn't over.
Talked with Jimmy Johnson earlier in the weekend about, hey, you're a rookie. Can you really think seriously about winning the championship right now?
You know, we're not supposed to be in the position we're in. We're not supposed to win a championship. We're not supposed to do a lot of things. We're not supposed to win 2 races in a rookie year, but we have. And, you know, I'm trying to be realistic about it all as well, and don't think that, you know, coming in this, didn't think I had a shot at the championship. And I've thought that through the season, but here we are with 9 to go, and we're only 40 out. So it's a reality, and we need to look at it and do what we've done the rest of the season that we have done to get ourselves to this point and collect max points. And who knows? We'll see what happens. If we're sitting at the head table in New York, it's going to be big.
And he says you're not supposed to. It's more like nobody expects you to.
Exactly.
You know, but when you've got a good team, you've got the talent that that team has, you know, when they did, it really wasn't a big surprise.
Backed up a spot there. Ricky Craven got around him for second.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr., the A car, is just driven away from these guys. Matt, what they said about Johnson's car in the pit area?
Well, Benny, they really feel like they've got a very good car, but they're going to let the 8 car go early, and then they feel like the 8 will come back to them. But let me ask you a question, Benny. Back when you were running for championships, did you or anybody else ever play mind games with the other competitors?
Yeah, every once in a while.
Well, that's exactly what Chad Knaus was doing this morning. He was walking through the garage about 5 minutes after he told me his car was great. He had a sway bar and a big spring, and I said, I thought you told me your car was good. He says, it's just propaganda, because I'm playing with everybody's minds. They see me changing a lot of stuff, and they're going to start to get worried and think maybe, A, we're out to lunch, or maybe they are too.
So misinformation, right?
Misinformation can be the best information, especially in a championship chase for a team that really shouldn't be here, but they are.
There's Tony underneath Dale Jarrett.
Big orange,
guys.
Big orange is rolling, isn't he? Tony Stewart started 23rd. He just took 3rd from Jarrett.
Look at that. I mean, just put 2 car lengths on Jarrett there in the center of the corner.
And there's just absolutely no arguing with Tony Stewart's record here at Dover. His career average finish here is 4th.
And see, all these cars have moved up the racetrack, except Tony Stewart.
Right.
He's still right on the bottom of the racetrack.
I still think the guy that has a car that can stay on the bottom is going to be the fastest car here, but there aren't enough grooves here where you can get around the high side and you can actually race up to them.
Stewart is 2.5 seconds behind Dale Earnhardt Jr., the race leader. Coming up on a quarter distance today in the MBNA All-American Heroes 400 at Dover. You're watching NASCAR on TNT.
140,000 fans encircling this concrete 1-mile track they call the Monster, and the Monster has already reared its ugly head here in this 400-mile race. Dale Earnhardt Jr. off to a great start here this afternoon, defending champion of this race. Won here 1 year ago and having another strong run today. But when the NASCAR Winston Cup Series went back to work for the first time after the September 11th attacks, it was red and red, white, and blue for Earnhardt Jr., who stopped on the front stretch and had a flag given to him to take around the track and then celebrated with his crew in Victory Lane. Jr. hopes to go back to Victory Lane here again today, and while he's running well, he's concerned that maybe the team pulled the wrong gear. He's only reaching 8,800 RPMs, but that's not the most important gauge in his car. That sign, unity and strength, is meant not only to reach fans in our country, but to those that defend our country around the world. So Junior is sending a message to the troops and sending a message to his crew that maybe this car isn't quite as good as they were hoping, but he continues to lead, guys.
I don't know. You know, you could want more gear here, but it sounds like he's getting all the power he's got down on the racetrack, which is important, Benny.
And it looks like that as well. I talked to Richie Gilmore, the engine builder for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated this morning, and Mark Cronquist, the engine builder for the 20 car, Tony Stewart, and both those guys talked about their cars turning 92, 9,300 RPMs.
And for a driver, you always want to turn as much as you can. If we could turn 10,000 RPMs, we would. But, you know, and I'm sure that's what Dale's feeling right now. He says, man, only 8,800, we're going to get past, but still the fastest race car on the track right now.
Comparing last season to this season, Junior's about the same number of points behind the leader in the championship, but he's 8 more spots farther out. Go figure. Good race going on for third. Dale Jarrett has caught Ricky Craven, and he's trying to work him over. Jarrett in the 88, the big brown car.
This is about 4 seconds behind the leader, Junior.
Looks like it's just a matter of time here before DJ gets around Ricky.
Since Dale Jarrett joined the 88 team, since he partnered up with Todd Parrott at this 88 car for Robert Gates, they've run 13 races here at Dover. He's finished in the top 5 8 times.
And that's a terrific record. And again, that's another car that's able to keep his car on the bottom of the racetrack. And you're right. When it's all said and done, the guys that can stay down there all day long will probably be better off.
so. You figure DJ's flipping through his book now on Ricky Craven, and we talked about sizing up the competition.
Well, you don't have to, believe me, remember quickly. You don't have to think that too far.
Well, for now, he sized up and said, okay, I can't get by him. I'll just ride behind him for a little bit. And they're 4.2 seconds behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jr. better not look in his mirror. Tony Stewart starting to close up. We'll look at it when we continue from Dover on TNT.
Winston Cup Racing from Dover International Speedway, brought to you by Stacker 2, the world's strongest fat burner. Burn fat, crush cravings, and supercharge your energy. By Red Wing Comfort Force Work Boots, boots that work all day. And by Wrangler, and Wrangler's 5-star premium denim jeans. Real, comfortable jeans.
We are at 1/4 distance in today's NASCAR Winston Cup 400-miler from Dover. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is out in front before some 140,000 fans on an absolutely beautiful late September day. Let's make our singular call to the pits. We'll hit speed dial button 8 because that's whose pit Bill Weber's in.
And the 8 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr., the defending race winner, continues to lead here, having an outstanding day, leading 85 of the 100 laps so far. Now, Junior's car is getting better. Remember, we talked about how he didn't have a lot of grip in the center of the turns. Well, now he's got more grip thanks to an air pressure adjustment. But the most important item in that car right now might be that rear view mirror, because he knows the 20 of Tony Stewart is on its way, Matt.
Bill, he's coming and coming fast. The balance, Tony said, was very good on his first stop. They adjusted with air pressure. No changes on his last stop. He restarted 6th, and now he's up in the 2nd position. Tony said in the radio, and I quote, "Yeehaw, let's rock and roll. This car is awesome, Dave." Ricky Craven not saying yeehaw. He says loose, loose, loose. I need grip. The crew encouraging him just to drive it on. They made adjustments last time, but they did not seem to help the car for Ricky Craven. Bill?
Dale Jarrett says he loves this racetrack, and so far today, it's running well. It started off tight, but they made an air pressure and track bar adjustment on their most recent pit stop. That's made the car better. So Dale Jarrett running well. Upstairs, let's check on the leaders, Alan.
Here comes Big Orange.
He's coming fast. Tony Stewart is right there on Junior. They've started to lap some cars. They've lapped 4 or 5 cars, and in doing this, it allowed Tony Stewart to catch Dale Earnhardt Jr., but there's not much Junior can do about it.
Goodbye.
See ya.
New leader, car 20, Tony Stewart out in front. All right, let's keep going through the field. We'll go back to 5th place car, Ricky Rudd, Dave.
And if you can be simplistic, that's what kind of a day the 28 car is having. 2 stops, no changes each time, and radio back to Ricky, we're as good as anyone here. They're very confident right now in the 28 car. Matt?
Dave Jimmy Johnson is faded back to 6th from the 2nd position. He says the car still will not cut in the center of the corner, and it's hurting him getting in the gas up off the corner. He's tried to adjust his line a little bit. You can see how he's gone up almost another half a lane trying to get that car to turn, Dave.
Jeff Green is riding this car for all it's worth this year. This is the 8th time they've raced this chassis. It's the 3rd race in a row. It has 2 top 5 finishes for him. Right now, it's just a little bit tight. Bill?
Well, Rusty Wallace has had a great car on the racetrack. His problems have been in the pits. First time they couldn't get a tire on quick enough. The second time he drove over the line, had to back up, had an extra long stop, fell back to the middle of the field. Now Rusty marching forward up to 8th, the car that could have won but didn't win at Bristol. Matt?
Bill, after finishing 39th and 20th with new crew chief Paul Andrews, it seems like the 99 team is starting to come together. Currently in the 9th position. They haven't made a lot of adjustments all day. In fact, after their first stop when they made an air pressure adjustment, they haven't made any adjustments to the race car. Bill?
Kurt Busch has lost a couple of positions in the last few laps. His crew chief is Jimmy Finnick. This morning, Jimmy told me they were tight in both practice sessions, and they were still a little bit tight. So they tried to make an adjustment before they put the car on the grid. It helps early, but the 97 of Busch is just too tight. Alan?
Mark Martin just got by Kurt Busch, and how about this for a championship moment?
Sterling Marlin, the 40 car, is a lap down. Tony Stewart has just passed him. Sterling Marlin is in worth 33rd position.
He is struggling. Been watching the last couple laps, BP. He cannot keep that race car low on the racetrack. He just slides all the way up the track.
And while he has fallen back, Mark Martin, the man who took the championship lead from him a week ago, Marty, that two-tire stop appears to have settled in for him.
It's settled in very nicely, and he is not struggling. Fell back as far as 13th. He has now made his way back up to 10th, running laps as fast as the leaders. He was a little loose at the beginning of that run. They're going to add a pound to the left rear. Mark must love the change of seasons here in Delaware. He's won 3 times at Dover, all here in September. Bill?
Greg Biffle had a tough day yesterday in the Busch race. Today going a little bit better as he continues to substitute for the injured Bobby Hamilton. The car hasn't been that great. He thought maybe earlier in the race he had a gear or a gearing problem. That has not come to pass so far. So Biffle continues to run well here, Dave.
Elliott Sadler's crew are performing their duties today in military green Air Force flight suits. Maybe that's why, in addition to the fact that, that they picked up 5 spots on that last pit stop, put some air pressure in the right rear to fix the good in tight middle condition. Bill?
Bill Elliott's car was tight, so they made an air pressure in both front tires on their last stop, dropping one 1 pound and the other 3/4 of a pound. It seems to have helped. It's turning better, and it is not as tight as it was. As for his teammate Jeremy Mayfield, once again he has Ray Evernham on top of the wagon on pit road. His car is just a little tight as well. They made a chassis adjustment on their last stop, currently 15th after Jeremy started 11th here this afternoon. Marty?
Bill, Riley Gordon's got a pretty good race car for a guy who's running in 16th. Same car that finished 8th here in June. A little bit tight right now. He thinks it may be this set of tires, however. They had a run of 4 top 10s in 5 races during June or July and August, but they have 5 straight out of the top 10 since then. Mike Skinner behind him is having an excellent run. A little bit tight. They are going to make a wedge adjustment when he comes down pit road. A little bit of concern earlier. The water temperature was up to 240. These guys could use a good run. They have not finished in the top 10 this entire season. Dave?
Matt Kenseth may wish he was back in the days of his Busch car where he won 2 races here, because this car is extremely loose. He said it's so loose, even though he passed Mike Skinner, that he can't even look at the gas pedal. I guess he looked at it long enough to get around the 4 car. Matt?
Johnny Vance is currently running in the 19th position. Earlier the car was tight. Now the car was a little loose in the last run. Right now, he's just riding. We've got caution.
Bobby Labonte has slowed down the front stretch, and I believe that is a plume of smoke, rather, that was trailing from his car when he went to the apron. Bad day, gotten even uglier for the 18 team.
And we see a tremendous amount of smoke out the back of the car.
Bobby was running in 21st at the time of his problem, and the yellow flag is out for the 4th time in this race.
And he definitely has a problem, but the car is still running. Looks like. Well, it'd be a tough day if he broke an oil line or something. They're able to fix it, and he's got to go out and run the other 300 miles.
He's hoping it's broken for good.
Remember last time, pit road is closed, by the way. Pace car hasn't picked up the field yet. So nobody has come in yet.
And Bobby Labonte appears to be taking his car directly to the garage area.
Remember, Rusty Wallace overshot his pit last time by. We just intercepted this radio traffic just after the caution came out.
Rusty, for our next pit stop, I'll remind you, it seems to me like a lot of teams are complaining this pit road's real slippery. I just misjudged. I thought I got stopped in plenty of time. They put some yellow tape on that line for me where I got to stop, okay?
Usually, you know, you stop at the pit board. I'm wondering how they're stopping. Usually, when the guy's holding the pit board, you put your nose right on it. Some guys like to get lined up on a left fender, but you drive to that pit board so you know where to stop.
Yeah, we'll see. Rusty running in...
there's the 2 board right there we're talking about, so... I don't know why.
He just went right through it last time.
Did he lock the brakes up, Bill?
No, he just misjudged it, as he just said. He just went right through it, because I talked to Jeff Thousand on this crew about that. Okay. And he said he just drove right through the sign.
Complication for Rusty. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is pitted behind him, but is in front of him on the racetrack. So Rusty has to turn around Dale Jr.'s car to get into his pit box.
Yeah, that is a problem. All right, Marty, here comes Mark Martin to you.
And he's having a great run, BP. Those two tires held out pretty well. A little bit loose at the beginning of the run. They are going to add the pound to the left rear tire. They thought about a wedge adjustment, decided not to do it, Matt.
Tony Stewart stopped short to give himself an easy exit. Greg Zipadelli's crew just said no. But this track does tend to get tight. If the car starts going that way, let me know. No adjustments on the 20, Dave.
Ricky Craven's crew has already made the track bar adjustment. 4 tires. He is gone. Bill?
Junior stopped short in his pit. That gave Rusty space to get him around him. Junior's car is a little tight in the center and bounces the right rear tires. They just dropped an air pressure, 1 pound of air pressure in all 4 tires. Great stop, and he beat them all off pit road.
We may not have gotten any contact there, but it's getting closer. I'm telling you guys, there's a lot of close calls on pit lane.
Here's what you're talking about, Walt, is these guys race off pit road. And again, the speed limit is 35 miles per hour. There ever see Junior? Jarrett? Craven? Where's our leader? There's Tony. And Jeff Burton is in the game.
Yeah, they're having a great day.
99 cars moved up from 30th starting spot. So we're under caution for Bobby Labonte's troubles here in Dover, just past the 1/4 mark. You're watching NASCAR on TNT.
Ball down. Cruel summer. Now you're gone.
NASCAR on TNT from Dover, Delaware. Here's our Craftsman truck update. Mike Bliss, another win yesterday on the short track in South Boston, Virginia, and continues his pursuit of their series championship. Rick Crawford hanging in there, had a 3rd place finish yesterday.
And Bliss opened up a little distance between himself and the rest of them in the championship battle. Only 55 points in front of Crawford, but we see Terry Cook is all the way back in 5th.
4 races to go for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Getting set to go back racing here in Dover with Dale Earnhardt Jr. back out in front. Dale Jarrett off pit road 2nd. Craven, Stewart, Jeff Burton up from 9th to 5th on that stop.
A great stop for all those guys, Paul Andrews and his crew.
Then you've got Rusty Wallace, Jimmy Johnson, Ricky Rudd, Mark Martin, and Jeff Green rounding out the top 10.
Probably shouldn't give Paul Andrews any credit. After all, he can go across the wall.
Yeah. You will see the field come by Jeff Gordon, who's just come out of the garage. He'll be on the apron of turn 1 when the field comes steaming past. Gordon is 55 laps down in 41st place.
And Bobby Labonte did take his Interstate Batteries car to the garage area. He did not pass the pit crew on pit road. He went straight to the garage, straight to jail.
Did not collect $200.
And did not collect $200. That's the key thing.
And they have just reported Bobby Labonte's car done for the day. Dale Jarrett now as close to the front as he's been since the drop of the green flag, literally since the drop of the green flag. Remember, he kind of had a little tough start there when Earnhardt Jr. in that inside lane got away from him on the get-go. There up front, Bill.
Yeah, and Dale Jarrett having a solid run here. His car's been a little tight most of the day. Last time before he pitted, he told Todd Parrott it was tight in the center and off. They made a track bar adjustment of 1 round. And Dale Jarrett trying to fight his way to the front of this field.
Talked to Dale for some time on Friday in the garage. He was very disappointed that they're not in the fight for this championship. He said, I'm thrilled for the fans because it's going to be a great one all the way down to Homestead. I'm just heartbroken that we're not in the middle of it. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has led 97 of the 125 laps so far today. Got 29 cars on the lead lap. Those not on the lead lap: Kyle Petty, Joe Nemechek, Steve Park, Sterling Marlin, Kenny Wallace, Terry Labonte, Casey Atwood, and Kevin LePage. They're all 1 lap down. Tim Sauter's a couple of laps down. Hideo Fukuyama is 4 laps down. Bobby Labonte, Jerry Nadeau, Ward Burton out. Jeff Gordon, 56 laps down. Back on track in 41st place.
Yeah, that 30 car does have some damage on the right front. Yeah, we were watching the pit stops, and see right there in the right front nose of the car?
Yep, he sure does. Oh,
and when he came out of the pits, when I saw those guys down there, he pulled out right behind the 28, and I said, man, I don't know how he didn't hit the 28. I wonder if he did that in the pit lane.
Jeff Green running in 10th place right now, just ahead of Kurt Busch. Talking about Hideo Fukuyama a little bit earlier. They had a little bit of pit action and some radio traffic a moment ago on the Japanese driver.
Stop, boys. 15-3. Inside. All right, you're clear. Y'all might make the Benny Parsons Award. We get another second at him. How do we fix the monitor?
Got to get under that 13 seconds, boys.
The BP Challenge.
Any pit stop under 13 seconds, and I give the participants, they go across the wall, $100 apiece.
16th, 17th, and 18th place here. Ryan Newman trying to move back up. Oh, a little crossover there for Tom Bodine. Remember, Ryan Newman spun out in turn 2 back at lap 55 when he was running second.
See, Bill learned the 55 car. He's not going to be able to keep his car on the bottom of the racetrack today either.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. leading Dale Jarrett and Ricky Craven. 131 laps complete from Dover, Delaware on TNT. Dale Earnhardt Jr. leading the MBNA All-American Heroes 400 at Dover International Speedway in Delaware. Just a couple of car lengths over Dale Jarrett. A little bit of trash there on the grill of Junior's car.
A little bit. I don't think it's going to hurt anything up where it is. If it was about 4 or 5 inches lower, it might present a problem, but these cars right now are running about the same speed. That lap, Jarrett about a 10th of a second. Well, actually, a little bit slower than Junior, but not much.
Talked about Ricky Rudd and Jeff Green on pit road a minute ago there, Paul.
Look right here behind the left rear tire. You can hardly see it, but there's a mark there on that rear fender. Right.
Never mind. Timing's everything.
Anyway, he comes out of the pits here, and you see Jeff Green right in front. So Ricky pulls out, and here's Jeff Green. He pulls out, and there's where the contact was, and I think where the damage that Jeff received on his right front fender.
Now you can see the car move just a little bit.
Let me get back to, let me draw my picture now.
Color.
Right back here. It looks like there's a little bit of damage, and that's probably from the nose of the 30 car.
Certainly doesn't look like anything on his car, but on this car, Wally, considerable damage.
Yeah. It's just going to happen. I think as we get into the race, it's going to happen more because guys will start digging a little bit harder towards the end of the race.
One of the narrowest pit roads on the circuit, this one here in Dover. When you pull out of your box, if you got to go around a car pitted in front of you, you have no choice but to drive directly to that outside lane where all the guys from farther up pit road are already coming.
Yeah, and Ricky had nowhere to go either. And like I said earlier, if that wall wasn't there, guys could move to the right and get in the grass a little bit, give some guys some room, but can't do it here.
It is there, and it needs to be there to separate the racetrack and pit road.
Man, what a day for Sterling Marlin.
Not a good one.
40 cars running in 33rd place, 1 lap down. Now, time to pay attention for your chance to win a day with the King, Richard Petty. At the end of this lap, lap 143, pay attention to which Richard Petty's car is the highest in the race. Then log on to NASCAR.com or call 1-800-977-7700 to enter for your chance to win a day with the King. The correct answer is Sean Andretti is the highest at the end of lap 143. Andretti is running in 25th place now. Kyle Petty's in 30th. Jerry Nadeau's in the garage after an early wreck. So log on to NASCAR.com or call 1-800-977-7700 armed with the knowledge that Sean Andretti is the answer to try and win a day with the King.
I'll be right back. I got my cell phone with me.
New second place runner. Ricky Craven's got it rolling.
Wow, does he ever looking good on the outside. Is he going to get that momentum? Looks like it. Got it. See you, Junior.
And got the paper off his grill in the meantime.
Yeah, how about that?
That's a good thing. Dave Burns down the garage area.
Yeah, caught up with Bobby Labonte. Bobby, we know this wasn't a very fun day from the beginning. What finally put you out?
Something let go at the bottom of the motor. I'm sure it's one or two things down there that broke, and it just probably just, you know, broke all of a sudden. It's probably just spark failure, and that's just the way it goes. But we kind of battled back there after we made a couple changes real early there, and we weren't too far off the leaders at that point in time. A little bit down on the racetrack, but still lap times were looking a lot better. So like to have gone out there and run the rest of the race, but it'll look like we'll get to, so we'll go to Kansas next weekend.
All right, and the Spring 99 winner is out, guys.
Caution for debris on the backstretch. And the yellow flag is out for the 5th time in this race, just shy of lap 150, and just after Ricky Craven took the lead away from Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Well, see, Tony Stewart, the 20 car, was getting closer and closer to these guys. But that pit road that you talked about, he is pitting down past the start-finish line. It's a real problem for him to make his pit stop and weave his way down pit road, weave his way, I should say, to get back to the front.
You're right, Benny, because when he comes down pit lane, there's going to be a lot of cars pulling out in front of him. So he's going to have to jam on the brakes not to hit some of these guys.
29 laps since they last stopped. Pit road closed yet because the pace car has not picked up the field. But I suspect that we'll see everybody in next time.
Oh, yes.
These pit crew guys are going to be tired tonight on the plane home. Red flag with the yellow cross showing the drivers that pit road is indeed closed. Next time when they come back by there, pit road will be open and they'll have a green flag there. Braves baseball on TBS Thursday, 7 Eastern time. The Philadelphia Phillies and the Atlanta Braves. Major League Baseball's best on TBS Thursday at 7 o'clock Eastern time. Top 25 college football, TBS Big Play Saturday, returning next Saturday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. The number 2 Oklahoma Sooners and South Florida, 7 Eastern next Saturday. Big Play Saturday on TBS.
Great game last night.
Yeah.
Jeff Burton's guys do what they did last time, they may come out of this thing in the top 2 spots.
I know.
Talking about the fact that they gained 4 spots on pit road last time.
And he's back there behind Tony Stewart, so I'm not exactly sure how he was able to get down pit road with the ease he did. Marty, 6 car coming to you.
And it's very good right now. The points leader is. He asked, how's the chassis? He said, it's just fine. Don't do a thing to it. 4 tires, no changes for Mark Martin. Dave?
Ricky Craven's loose race car now very good. 4 tires, no changes for the 32. Bill.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. into his stall. That bag on the front of the grill was not affecting the temperature, but his car continues to bounce around the racetrack. That's really bothering him. They're going up 1 pound of air pressure in each tire. He didn't like this set of tires either, so he's hoping fresh tires will help him out. But a big parade of cars off pit road. Guys taking 2. Now Earnhardt Jr. trying to find his way out.
Dale Jarrett is off first. Ricky Craven, the previous leader, out second. Tony Stewart third. Jeff Burton fourth. And Rusty Wallace fifth. Junior's losing a lot of spots.
Sure is. There we see 1 spot he's lost. 2 spots. Actually, he was in second spot. There was the leader. He lost a spot. Tony Stewart did very well coming down pit road that time. Oh, that's close. Burton.
Rusty and Junior losing a lot of track position on that stop. NASCAR on TNT from Dover, Delaware in the Dover International Speedway, where Dale Jarrett is about to lead the field to a restart at lap 151 of 400. Jarrett's crew getting him off pit road ahead of Ricky Craven and taking over the lead.
Red and black car, Kyle Petty, a lap down, as is the 25 of Joe Nemechek.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. losing a lot of track position on that pit stop. He's back in 10th place now. There he is just behind Matt Kenseth, who continues to move forward. 17 car rolling up from some lost track position earlier in the race by making an extra pit stop that a lot of the leaders didn't.
We've seen how well this 8-car Bud car has been able to run out front. Can he wade his way through traffic, as Tony Stewart has done today? He's right on the back bumper of his buddy. He and Matt Kendall were rookies together in the NASCAR Busch Series and in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series as well.
Yep. Outside. That's probably a good call, Matt.
So Matt was already loose, so I'm sure having Dale on the bumper wasn't helping matter.
Junior to 9th.
What kind of RPMs that he might be turning? I'll watch RPMs while you watch the speed. Okay. The minimum RPM down to about 7,500.
He has to get off the gas there early.
What's going on with Mark backing up like that?
Yeah.
Now we'll try this again. On the inside of Rudd, still pretty good. But he's right. He's only turning 8,800 RPMs. That was what he was telling his crew earlier, that felt like they might not have the proper gear in the car, and he did turn some more RPMs.
On board Ricky Rudd, just behind Dale Jr.
Whoever went out on that pit stop with Dale Jr.
Well, Tony Eury Jr. working the front tires, Benny, had a lug nut hang, the bottom lug nut trying to get it off. He hit it the first time, it didn't come off, so he had to go back and hit it again. Just about 15.29 seconds on that stop, which just goes to show you 1 second here is just about a lifetime out on the racetrack. It's unbelievable.
That is unbelievable. That just 1 second slow, he would lose all that time on the racetrack, all those positions on the racetrack.
At lap 148, so Junior now falling back to 10th. Now he's worked his way back up to 7th. And next ahead of him will be Rusty Wallace in the 2 to pick up the 6th spot. Let's talk about what happened to Mark Martin there a minute ago. I guess he just saw the Junior Express coming and did a wave by. Pulled over and said, "You go right ahead, sir." Steve Park in the 1, 32nd place, 1 lap down. That Junior's working on there.
Dave, Ricky Craven and his guys having a pretty good day.
They are having a great day. One thing I didn't get a chance to mention during his pit stop was that he thought he had a right front vibration with the tire. It didn't turn out to be the tire. This is his right front tire. If you're at the front of the car, the tire leans in like this. This is where we get the negative camber, and a lot of the wear is done on this shoulder. But this shoulder is perfect. The guys looked it over. It's very, very good after a 31-lap run. So they think that maybe it's a right front brake rotor that might just be a little warped on the 32 car.
And what he was telling you was the negative camber they run in the right front, and it has always been a problem at this racetrack. We'll go inside our TNT garage and show you what we're talking about. See that? It's lean, that's straight up now. White is straight up and down. They lean the tire in like the blue is to get that tire in, so then in the straightaway of the tire contact makes on the inside, and about to put a lead. What did you goose me when he did that, Wally?
Hurry up there, Benny.
I didn't want to interrupt you. You know,
Tide, well, actually the saying in football season would be roll tide, but in this case it's tide rolls. Ricky Craven to the front. It's been almost a year since he picked up his first NASCAR Winston Cup win, Martinsville, last fall. Talking with Ricky, he said, we must finish top 15 in the championship. Just have to do it.
And where is he?
26 points behind Michael Waltrip for the 15th spot.
All right, now then, let's go back to this garage once again and show you what we're talking about by negative camber. Go inside the TNT car. White is straight up and down. You see they lean the tire in. That's like the blue. And what happens down the straightaway, you run the tire right on the inside. The theory is when you get to the corner and the tire comes out, as you put the pressure on it, you get the full contact across the tire. But here they try to lean them in a little bit too much, and that inside tire stays hot all the time, and it doesn't get the full contact on the entire tire.
All right, hurry up, Benny. We got to go to break. You done now?
No, you better hurry. Get back before Tony Stewart passes the 88 car.
All right, well, let's do it then. Stewart trying to close in on Jarrett for second. Both of them trying to close in on Craven for the lead. And we're closing in on halfway here at Dover. Next weekend, our coverage of the race for the championship moves on to Kansas City. Happy hour Saturday at 1 Eastern time, presented by Sprint PCS, immediately followed by the NASCAR Busch Series race here on TNT. Then next Sunday, Sprint PCS presents NASCAR Winston Cup Racing from Kansas. We start the Discover Card countdown to green at 12:30 Eastern time.
Well, it looks like right now that orange is the color to have.
Yeah, the one with the 20 on the door would be my choice.
Would it be your pick right now?
You saw Tony Stewart slide underneath Dale Jarrett just after we came back from the commercial. New second place runner. Closing in on halfway in the MBNA All-American Heroes 400 at Dover. TNT's coverage of the chase for the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship in Delaware's capital city today. So far, 5 different drivers have traded the lead 8 times. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been the dominant driver. He's led 116 of those 175 laps. Ricky Craven's been out in front for 16. Rusty Wallace 15. Tony Stewart and Dale Jarrett 13 apiece. Big story on the championship today, Sterling Marlin not having a very good day at all. 33rd place, 1 lap down now, Matt, while Mark Martin runs in 10th.
Until New Hampshire, the color to have, and the points was silver and red. Lee McCall, what is wrong with your race car?
Well, we started off the race real tight, and they quite a few adjustments on that first stop, and actually got a little better. Actually got on the free stop, so we tightened it back up, and we're basically looking for some grip right now. So we'll keep working on this course like that, and hopefully by the end of the day we can get back on the lead lap and just get as fast as possible. So we're not giving up yet.
Daly had 1 top 5, so his last top 5 here at Dover was in 1990. This is the car he grabbed the points lead with. Marty Neer hoping to get it back today.
Conversely, his championship rival Mark Martin is cruising around the racetrack. Just put Joe Nemechek another lap down. He's running in the 10th position, and Mark is pretty happy with the race car. The problem for Mark, his car's not very good at the beginning of a run. It's very good at the end of the run, so he gives up a lot of time, but he does make it up later on that run. Alan?
And Jeff Gordon, the other headline maker in the championship today, came into the race 5th in points, but was involved in a crash at lap 67, and he spent 56 laps in the garage getting repairs. He's back in 40th place.
Pretty strong move there by Jimmy Johnson.
That's the guy that's 3rd in the championship hunt. Just took over the 3rd position from Dale Jarrett.
As they stand now.
Well, he was leading the last time. Jimmy Johnson, the 48, was leading the last time we saw that, so you could see just how quickly things change when points are this close.
Can you imagine if this goes down to Homestead like that, how much fun that day's going to be?
We can do that every lap.
Yeah.
Just have it change.
How about 48, Matt?
Well, Alan, he was explaining to his crew chief, Chad Canals, just how this racetrack has changed since the final practice session on Saturday. He said it's hard to explain. The car was perfect in happy hour, and now since the track has changed, we're really chasing this race car. It's been tight most of the day, and that's where he is right now. He's just a little stuck. He still needs a little more help. They've had great pit stops. Right now, though, he's just trying to ride and bide his time, but they were joking around this morning. Remember we mentioned about how he had the sway bar in the spring, and they were trying to fake people out that they were going to change it? Well, maybe they might should have done that. Jimmy was joking around, but he is right now in the 2nd position, trying to make a move. Remember, he won here in June with this race car.
The only thing changing there is his position on the racetrack, and it's going in a very positive direction. Johnson 2nd, ahead of Tony Stewart, behind Ricky Craven, the leader at lap 180 here in Dover today. 140,000 NASCAR fans having a big old Sunday afternoon party.
Ricky Craven continues to lead here at Dover. Remarkable story. Had some outstanding runs here in the Busch Series and now leading here in a Winston Cup event. It's the 9th race he has led this season, but he hasn't been able to get back to victory lane since his win at Martinsville. It was an amazing win at Martinsville just a little under 1 year ago when Ricky finally got that coveted first Winston Cup win. Right now, he's looking for number 2 and trying to climb up in the points. Meanwhile, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s crew continues to watch him. Jr. struggling after that last pit stop. We showed you earlier that flag he carried around the racetrack after his victory here 1 year ago. Well, that flag has been on their pit wagon ever since that day. They ran the flag out. They gave it to Earnhardt Jr. He tried to drive around the track. The wind was trying to rip the flag right out of his hand. He said it was very difficult to drive with one hand and carry the American flag around with the other. Since that day, his uncle Danny has put the same American flag on the pit box for every race. He said he got a lot of attention for winning that race, but the special part of that day is that they were running the race. It didn't matter who won. It was just important that racing was back and that America could get back to as normal a lifestyle as possible after the attacks of September 11th.
Unity is strength, a message to the troops overseas on board Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car.
That was a great sign following that report, Bill.
Let's check out the lead. Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart closing on Ricky Craven as Craven's into the lap traffic. It's Kevin LePage in the 49 car he's trying to get by.
And Johnson is right there, and that's exactly what has allowed these cars to close up, is this lap traffic.
Johnson won here in June, led 188 laps en route to that victory. Had a birthday this past Tuesday, all of 27 years old.
Battle for second. Tony Stewart was looking on the inside of Jimmy Johnson, could not quite get there after trying to go by the Kenny Schrader car.
Yeah, Kenny just went one lap down. Wow, look at Craven. There's Fukuyama there in the 66.
Watch out, Joe.
Gotta say, he's been doing a decent job.
Yeah, getting experience.
All right, here's our glove save and a beauty segment.
Good job.
Good save.
Did you teach him that? Or did he just learn it after you ran over him at Suzuka a couple of years ago?
He didn't say it the one I gave him. Uh-oh, he's got trouble.
Uh-oh, something's wrong with him. What's wrong, Marty?
They would appear to be coming to pit road, possibly a tire down. I am not right there, Benny, but I will tell you in a second when I get there.
Okay, hurry.
Run, Marty, run.
And the reason I call him Joe is I cannot and will not even try to pronounce that name.
Fukuyama?
So we call him Joe.
Okay. Ricky Craven, giving the New Englanders something to cheer about. Goodness knows the Red Sox haven't been something to cheer about lately.
And there's a lot of New Englanders come down to Dover.
Yes, this is one of their, besides New Hampshire, and certainly before New Hampshire came to be, Dover and Pocono were the two closest Winston Cup venues to.
A battle for the lead right behind Kevin Harvick. Johnson is right there.
This should be interesting.
Oh, this is going to be real neat here. Oh! How did Johnson get in that hole between Stewart and the wall?
Tony let him.
Oh, attaboy, Tony. Rusty Wallace.
Yep, closed right in.
While these leaders have been messing around in the lap traffic. Stewart right up to Johnson. Ooh, Mike Wallace.
Oh, and Craven had to back off the throttle. It's going to cost him the lead. Or is it? Might have been an early call there, BP.
Mike Wallace last on the lead lap. Did we see this movie last week in New Hampshire with Johnny Benson?
Hey, Johnson cannot get through the center as good as that 20 car. That 20 car really getting through the center of the corner. Look at how much time he makes up right there.
Last week in New Hampshire, Mike Wallace was fighting to stay on the end of the lead lap, and Johnny Benson tried to push his way through, ended up slipping up into the side of Mike. They got together. Benson lost the lead there.
Great battle for second, first, third, fourth, all those spots.
Now Tony's down there. Have to move back up to the high line.
Yep. Leader's gotten by, so Mike has pulled over to that inside lane, holding his line, giving the lead lap cars room to work around, as he should. And we're just past halfway. 201 miles down, 199 to go here in Dover on TNT. Running order has shuffled here at Dover just past halfway. Jimmy Johnson has now assumed the lead. He and Tony Stewart, along with Rusty Wallace and Dale Jarrett, shuffling Ricky Craven back to 5th in just a matter of a couple of laps.
And they're putting the 9-car Bill Elliott, who finished 2nd here in June, a lap down, or trying to.
Bill is the 24th place car for the moment. You know how to, well, you know how to say Kurahata? You know what that means?
Kurahata?
Kurahata.
Double?
Black flag. Ah, that's what happened to Fukuyama a minute ago. Marty?
Indeed, Alan, and the problem before was that he thought he had a flat tire, but he did not have a flat tire. They changed all 4 tires. Then he came down to answer the black flag. It's been a tough day for these guys, but he's done a really good job. The communication thing has been a barrier. He communicates in broken English and Japanese, but they've been doing a pretty good job, and they're trying to keep him out on the racetrack for as long as they can. Now I'm going to try to say this. Sa Alan ni Modaramas, which means back to you, Alan.
Very nice.
I didn't hear him say Alan.
Yeah, he did.
Did he?
Yeah. Not very well, but he did. Easiest part of the whole thing for him to say, and, you know. Stewart pressuring Johnson for the lead. 209 miles complete at Dover. Rusty Wallace closing in quickly on the front 2.
Winston Cup Racing from Dover International Speedway, brought to you by Sprint PCS. Experience the clear alternative to cellular today. By Viagra. Ask your doctor if Viagra is right for you. And by Team Monte Carlo. The cars more champions depend on. Chevy will be there.
Just past the midway point of today's MBNA All-American Heroes 400, you're looking at the race for the lead. Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart locked up in a fight for the top spot. You know, we've talked a lot about the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship, the Manufacturers Championship this year. It's been pretty hot. Pretty hot, too.
Ford leading, Chevrolet 30 back, Dodge, and then Pontiac in 4th. Right now we have a Chevrolet in front, a Pontiac in 2nd, a Ford in 3rd. The Dodge is the one that's hurting here today in Dover. Got to go back to 19th to find the first one, and that's Andretti.
Chevy's been out front most today here at the Monster Mile. Earnhardt Jr.'s led 116 laps. Jimmy Johnson, 13. Ford guys that have led. Ricky Craven for 46. Rusty Wallace for 15. Dale Jarrett for 13. And Tony Stewart has led 13 laps in his Pontiac.
And Tony can just get that nose underneath the DP.
And I think we're going to add to his point that laps led, Tony Stewart, in just a moment. Matt, what kind of story do you have for us?
Benny, would you believe that Tony Stewart has never led the points in Winston Cup competition?
No.
Well, he entered today 4th in the standings, only 59 points out of 1st. Earlier this week, Joe Gibbs, Greg Zipadelli, and Tony sat down. They explained to him, look at the bigger picture. We know you like to go and race midgets. We know you like to go and race modifieds and dirt modifieds. But look what you can win at season's end. Tony agreed. He did have a contractual obligation to run the legendary Race of Champions modified race last night. He still went and signed autographs, had Kenny Schrader fill in. He's also passing a midget race. He knows he can win this championship, but his approach is simple. He's going to go out and try to win races, make the other guys keep that consistency, still trying to win races. He thinks he can do it, and right now he's making a good run today, looking for his 3rd Dover win.
And he's now back in the lead.
Add into those laps led.
2nd time today, Tony Stewart has been out in front, steadily gaining ground over September on the championship lead.
Looking out the back of the Home Depot Pontiac. Jimmy Johnson is not going away quietly. Why did Jimmy let Tony go by or just pass him?
Benny, what lap pays all the money and points?
The The last one.
There you go. In fact, Jack and I was told Jimmy Johnson, if the 20 starts to pressure you too much, just let him go. We want to lead lap 400, the last one. That's exactly what Jimmy did. He let the 20 car go. He's going to ride.
I feel like this is Quiz Benny Day.
Yeah.
Seems like Marty and Matt every time. Hey, Benny, what do you think? Feeling pressure here.
Oh, Tony, baby. Hang on. Little loose as he tried to put a lap on Jeremy Mayfield.
19 car in 21st place. Now the first car 1 lap down.
And Wally and I always talk about that you need the entire racetrack to let these cars come off the corner. That was a classic example there, why you need the entire racetrack.
Ricky Craven continuing to slide backwards. He's all the way back to 8th, Dave.
And he's been talking to his crew. His biggest complaint, I can't run up top anymore. I checked with Mike Beam, his crew chief, and he wrote me a note that said it rides rough right now. It could be the air pressures, or it might be something having to do with the shocks.
Well, he's up there now.
But he's not making any time.
Not very well, yeah.
He ran 0.7 of a second slower than the leader that last lap. So Craven back to 9th now. Jeff Burton's gotten by him. And Tony Stewart is out in front here in Dover. About to complete 230 miles of today's 400-mile NASCAR Winston Cup contest at Dover International Speedway. Check the Napa Field summary. 6 leaders, 10 lead changes. Drivers who've led: Dale Earnhardt Jr., Ricky Craven, Tony Stewart, Rusty Wallace, Jimmy Johnson, and Dale Jarrett. Earnhardt Jr., the dominant driver of the first 150 miles. Greg Biffle, the latest driver to have some problems, Bill.
Yeah, brushed the wall, Alan, which is an understatement to say the least here at the Monster Mile, but he's a victim. Day not going nearly as well as they had hoped. Long time on the right side, working on the sheet metal, putting on 4 tires and fuel. Biffle had a tough day yesterday in the Busch race. Tough day today. Had some high hopes coming in here, but hasn't worked out so far.
Let's check out what happened to Greg Biffle a second ago.
That was in between 3 and 4 when we saw him slide up the racetrack. Here he goes.
As a general statement, you'd agree that when rubber meets concrete, it's not going to be a good thing.
Not a good deal, no.
Going to start to see some green flag pit stops here very shortly. Leaders were all last in at 1:48. There'll be 90 laps in another 6 laps around.
Rusty Wallace just goes by Dale Jarrett. Moves into the 3rd position. These guys are about a second and a half behind Wilp. And DJ goes back by Rusty Wallace.
Kenny Wallace has come to pit road. He'll be the first to make a green flag stop while we watch this race for position. And let's mention that Todd Bodine has taken his car to the garage. Retired engine failure on the Discover Kart machine.
Biffle on the new tires with the cape flying out the back.
Yeah, he's Superman.
Bill is in. 9 car.
And a long trip down pit road for Bill Elliott, falling off the lead lap. Not the day he was hoping for either. Past winner at this track, 2 wins this season around to the right side. They pull the tearaway off the windshield. NASCAR giving each team an extra man over the wall at this point in the race. Only allowed to work on the windshield. Around to the left side, Elliott gets 4 tires, no chassis adjustment. Car's just been too tight all day. Same problem for Jeremy Mayfield, his teammate.
Elliott rejoins the chase. John Andretti is the next to come to pit road. None of the leaders have stopped yet. There's Tony Stewart. The lap on Tony Raines. 19th place car going 1 lap down. That's a pretty solid run for Raines and that bunch starting at the back of the field.
A terrific run for him.
And Terry Labonte and Rusty Wallace hit the pit lane at lap 237.
35 miles per hour. Bill, it might be 5 minutes before he gets to you.
Yeah, but it gives us time to talk about their pit stops today, Benny. It's been one of those days on pit road that's been a nightmare and a dream come true. 2 bad pit stops and then 2 excellent pit stops. And Rusty hasn't just driven this car to the front. He has raced this car to the front. Been outstanding. Remember, he overshot his pit stall once. The problem with his car now is it starts off free, then comes to him, then gets too tight. tight. So it's an air pressure adjustment and a big track bar adjustment. Around to the left side, trying to get the left side tires bolted on, waiting on the left rear. Rusty's on his way.
16.5 seconds when he really needed a good one.
Marty, some scary moments in Mike Skinner's pit.
Yeah, it was a little bit scary for Mike Skinner and those guys, but they've had a great run today. Terribly loose from that last run. He falls off at the end of the run. They did add a pound to the right front tire, and it appears everything's fine now as they go around the left side. And everything's much more calm on this pit stop at the end of it. Dave?
Mike Wallace is in. His team changes 4 tires. They fixed the power steering problem out it earlier, but A.J. may have fixed it, and Mike said A.J. reminded him Tony Stewart won a race here once without power steering. Mike's on his way. Matt?
Tony Stewart has power steering now in a great race car. He sent back on lap 209. The car was still free and tight on exit. Now he says the car is incredibly tight in the center and free up off. They're going to adjust the 20 car with air pressure and also midway today.
Ricky Rudd having a great run. It's just a little bit loose off the corner. He said, whatever we do, don't make me too loose. They put a little bit of air pressure added to the left rear to try to help Rudd. Matt?
And Jimmy Johnson comes sliding to a stop. You can see the wrench going in the back window. They're going to make a track bar adjustment. He's still not having the car handle like he likes. The car is still tight. As they come around to the left side to Bill.
Dale Jarrett has already gotten right side tires around to the left side. He's a little bit on the loose side. A track bar adjustment to try and correct that on the 88 car. Meanwhile, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is also on pit road. Got his left side tires on, ready to go. Quick stop for the 8 bunch. His car continues to hop around the racetrack in the turns. Not something you want at Dover.
Craven leaves, Tony Raines leaves. Let's mention that Mark Martin is now the leader, and that's important. That's bonus points toward the championship. 5 bonus points when you lead a lap during a race. Marty?
Robbie Gordon is up to 8th. He has a little bit of left front fender damage. They fixed it once, got it damaged again. The damage made him tight. They over-adjusted. He was loose in this last run. They did make an air pressure adjustment trying to tighten him up. Bill?
Waiting for Kurt Busch to make the long trip down pit road. His car's been tight all day, so they're going to try and correct it. We talked about it earlier. It was tight in the first practice session, tight in the second practice session. They tried to make an adjustment, thought they would be pretty close. Wanted some flexibility in the race car. Didn't get exactly what they were hoping for. Around to the left side, make sure those right side tires don't get away. Chassis adjustment for the 97. Fuel, he's on his way. Burns.
Matt Kence's car was very, very loose. Then it went bad tight. They're going to make only an air pressure adjustment to try to fix that. Now they'll make a chassis adjustment to try to give Matt a looser race car. Hopefully it won't be as loose as it was before because it was hard to control. Marty.
Dave, valuable points for Mark Martin. He did get to lead the lap. The car is a little bit tight. They are going to make a wedge adjustment. It is 2 rounds of wedge into the right side for Mark Martin. It'll be 4 tires. He's gone from 125 down to up 6 in the race for the championship in 3 weeks. Matt.
Marty, the 6 and 99 are going to battle off here road. Jeff Burton complaining back on lap 117. The car was free and tight. Then the car went to loose. They adjusted on lap 148 with a wedge. And they just adjusted with a wedge again.
Names in yellow on the top, on the ticker, those who have made their pit stops under this round. And just about everybody's been in now, and it's going to cycle the lead back around to Jimmy Johnson. Johnson's going to come out on top of this exchange of stops. Johnson, Jarrett, Stewart, Rusty Wallace, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Now, I talked about something scary happening on Mike Skinner's pit stop a minute ago. Watch this. Mike is in the first pit stall down at the turn 4 end. Jackman
on the hood.
On the hood.
On his back.
Man. Oh, man.
And he got up, picked up the jack, and did the stop.
And that is a tough pit stall to get into. Marty?
Tony Carmone is the jack man, and he is fine, and he has walked away and finished up the pit stop, which is the amazing thing. He is fine and no injuries, and a little shaken afterwards. I asked him, was he okay? He said, yeah, I'm fine. Just need a minute to calm down, but that was an amazing thing that he, didn't get hurt there, and everybody's giving him a pat on the back here in the pit stall.
Man,
and you got to give NASCAR a pat on the back for making these guys use those helmets. They go across the wall, because you never know when that's going to happen to you.
Yeah, and he might have whacked his head on that concrete, but good. Part of safety innovations made after that terrible pit road accident down in Homestead, Florida. Dave.
And Elliott Sadler's Air Force crew goes to work. The car was worse loose than it was before. In fact, Elliott said some things about it that I really can't say on the air. He's not happy with it. They make an air pressure adjustment to try to help him.
Man, what did Elliott do to those guys? He had 2 NASCAR inspectors watching his pit stop.
By the way, Mike Skinner was running 13th at the time they had the problem on that stop. He's back to 22nd now. No problems for Jimmy Johnson. Out in front at lap 250 of 400 here in Dover, trying to cash in on the money at the end of the day. Back in Dover, Delaware, Jimmy Johnson, once again the leader of today's MBNA All-American Heroes 400. Tony Stewart led just before the pit stops, but these guys got Jimmy Johnson out first.
Chris Anderson, Jackman, Tampa, Florida.
Jason Gay, front tire carrier, Lexington, Kentucky.
I'm Jason Burdett, catch camp from Hartford, New York.
I'm Ron Malik, rear tire carrier from Franklin, Wisconsin.
Stan Parsnow, and I change front tires, and I'm from Oswego, New York.
Good job, guys.
Not quite VP Challenge money, but they'll take the lead, I think.
Oh, yeah, they'll take the lead, because it pays a lot more than I can pay.
Yeah. Kuro Hata again. Wally.
Yeah, I've been watching. He is really off the pace right now.
That's Japanese for Black Flag on Fukuyama, who's struggling at this point to meet the minimum speed.
And just so you guys know, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was behind him a couple of laps ago, and it looked like Jr. might have slowed or been off the pace, but he radioed in. I was waiting for him to spin out.
Yeah.
Okay. He will be coming in.
That would explain why Jr. lost 3 spots in about a lap. Yeah.
Okay, I got to take it to the garage part. What else did he say, BK?
I'm not sure.
Why they told him to go to the garage.
Not meeting the minimum speed.
We'll get down here.
There you go. Good experience, good effort. He'll be back again. Jimmy Johnson having a good effort also. He leads at Dover on TNT. NASCAR on TNT from the Monster Mile, Dover International Speedway in Delaware. The chase for the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship, down to 9 races to go. Jimmy Johnson came into this race 3rd in the championship standings, just 40 points behind leader Mark Martin. Is out in front today, trying to make it a season sweep here at this track. He leads Dale Jarrett by 0.955 seconds, with Tony Stewart in 3rd, 6.2 seconds behind.
Right now, it is definitely, as you just heard Alan say, a 2-car race between Johnson and Jarrett. Not only do they have about 6-second lead on Tony Stewart, they're running faster than he is around the racetrack and just building that lead.
13 cars on the lead lap. As we run the running order by you, Sterling Marlin, 2 laps down in 26th place. You'll see Jeff Gordon's name come by here in a bit. 59 laps down in 40th place. He was involved in a crash at lap 67. Most of the other top runners in the championship are all clustered right near the top of the running order of this race. So those 2 drivers really could take a big hit here today. Show you what's happened through the first 272 miles here at Dover today with our Pepsi race recap. Went green after a very patriotic pre-race ceremony today. Little international flavor to it too, with the Japanese driver Fukuyama participating. Lap 28, first of the problems happened. Jerry Nadeau bounced off the turn 4 wall, collected Ward Burton. They pounded the inside fence. Both drivers okay. Both drivers done for the day. Lap 55. Ryan Newman running second, just loses it. In turn 2, Rusty Wallace comes out of the smoke okay. Newman didn't even hit the outside wall. They both have continued on. Todd Bodine and John Andretti may or may not have touched. We have differing opinions on that. Jeff Gordon spun around in the aftermath, punches the inside wall, lost those 56 laps, or 56 of the 59 getting repairs. Bobby Labonte, former Dover winner, former Winston Cup champion, engine problems, he's done for the day. Mike Skinner, trouble on his most recent green flag stop, puts the Jackman up over the hood of the car. Everybody's okay. Skinner's having a decent day in 20th place, and that is our Pepsi race recap with Jimmy Johnson beginning to show some power.
Just put the 8 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr. a lap down. And look at Jr. going through the corner, trying his best to keep the car going in the right direction. You see him going through the corner like a snake traveling through it.
Junior led 116 laps early in this thing. He really looked like a potential winner, but boy, it's fallen away.
It has definitely gone away.
Yeah, bad loose, just really, really bad loose. He had a more colorful way of describing it, but translation from, if you speak Junior, it's bad loose. Tony Jr. told him to hang on, and basically that's all he can do.
And one other story of note in the first part of the race, Rusty Wallace, who started on the pole, had some problems on a couple of pit stops, fell back as far as 14th. He's picked his way back up to 3rd in Dover as we close in on 3/4. 140,000 fans at the Monster Mile today on a beautiful late September afternoon in Delaware, watching the NASCAR Winston Cup Series run round 28 of the 2002 championship. Jimmy Johnson is the leader. Sort of asserted himself as the dominant driver in this middle stage of the race after Dale Earnhardt Jr. dominated early. Here's somebody with some problems right now.
And he's got something leaking out the back.
Be Jimmy Spencer in the 41.
During the commercial break, we were riding along with Rusty Wallace, who was following Jimmy Spencer, and there was something getting on the camera lens. Water, oil, or something. Rusty seemed to think it was oil.
And let's see what they do.
Changing tires is not going to fix it, but
he's pointing. Somebody's pointing down there to the left rear. Pointing to the oil tank there, or
Marty, what are they saying?
Well, they're pointing right where the oil tank is, Benny. I'm trying to catch a peek down inside, and I don't see anything. They have shut the engine off, however, and there's no visible puddle underneath the car. So actually now there are. There's visible drops underneath the rear end of the car. Could be oil overflow, which I doubt, or maybe a transmission issue. And it appears it might be coming from the gear. We'll have to investigate a little bit more.
Okay, either way, Jimmy Spencer's on pit road, and he's got troubles. And there's Jeff Gordon pitting behind him, speaking of troubles. I just can't imagine being a driver of a car you've wrecked in the race and sitting in that garage for an hour, and then the crew chief saying, okay, buckle back in, you're going back out.
I'm telling you, it is no fun.
No, it really isn't. At least they're doing something decent for Jeff Gordon. He's 59 or 60 or whatever laps down, so it really doesn't matter if he loses another lap or two. So they're stopping every 40, 50 laps, putting new tires on the car. As bad as it's beat up, at least they've got it driving decently on those new tires.
Yeah. He runs another 18 laps, and he will pass Hideo Fukuyama for the 38th place.
I'd always, at the start of the race, whoever was starting next to me, behind me, I'd always go up to him here in Bristol and say, listen, if you're going to wreck me, make sure they can't fix it.
Marty, figure out what happened to the 41 car?
They did, and he is not headed back out on the racetrack. He's headed to the garage. It is a rear-end cooler, Vinny. So it was coming from the rear-end area, and it is leaking. So they're going to go fix that, and they'll have him back out in about 30, 45 minutes.
Oh, and I'm sure he's thrilled with that.
The official at the end of pit road, no, he's making that left-hand turn, so Buster Otten can back the pace car out of the way. They keep the pace car in that opening there. So Spencer behind the wall. And if he should fail to run any more laps, maybe that's another one that Jeff Gordon can try and overtake before the end of this one. Jimmy Johnson is your leader at Dover. Dover, Delaware, and the Monster Mile where Jimmy Johnson leads today's NASCAR Winston Cup Series race, coming up on the 3/4 mark of the event. Got 106 of the 400 laps still to go. Jimmy Johnson looking for his third win of the season so far. The Rapid rookie picked up win number 1 out in Fontana, California back at the end of April. And if that wasn't enough, he got here to the Monster Mile in June at Dover. He and his team co-owner Jeff Gordon got to celebrate again as Johnson outdistanced the field here at the Monster Mile, including Bill Elliott, who chased him to the checkered flag.
And both those victors seemed to be a little bit of a pit strategy involved in it. Today, there hasn't been any pit strategy. He just simply outrun them.
Can you believe he just put Dale Earnhardt Jr. a second lap down?
Wow, Jr. must be really struggling.
Storylines we've been following throughout the day for you here at Dover. The championship contenders starting in the back.
Well, one guy that it did bite was Jeff Gordon.
Yep.
Started in the back, was involved in the crash. Tires have not been a story. They have been pretty doggone good. They've stayed pretty consistent. And the groove, we've seen the cars be able to go high, but the fellows that seem to be leading are always around the bottom of the racetrack.
You know, back to that championship story, the one guy who started farthest back, who it hasn't affected, is Mark Martin. He's up to 4th place. So he got through it all, and Mark trying to solidify or pad his advantage on the championship standings as they run right now. Well, I guess Junior finally decided he'd had enough, huh, Bill?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it worked there. The car was just so loose with a second lap down, had to come in and get tires. Speculation, he might have had a tire going down, but he's got 4 tires of fuel and he's on his way. Not the day they thought they were going to have. Outstanding run early, but the 8 car has faded.
And Bill, the problem with this, it's lap 300. He's going to have to stop again.
Just couldn't stay out there any longer, and if you were listening to the radio like I was listening, you'd understand that too.
Okay, I got you.
So we understand why we haven't had any of Junior's radio on the air in a little while. I think that's where we're going with that.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay.
Tough day for the Budman. And he is now 4 laps down in 32nd place.
Just to give him a lot of credit, though, even when the handle goes away like that, he has been pretty calm most of the time. And just every now and then, Wally, as you know, when a driver loses the handle and you want your car to go better, sometimes if you yell at it, it helps.
Yeah, sometimes you have to use adjectives for anything. Anything with 4 letters in it usually works.
Jimmy Johnson having no trouble so far today here at Dover. He's got 98 laps to go in search of the 3rd victory of his rookie season on the Winston Cup Tour.
Temperature in the mid-80s, sun shining at Dover International Speedway in Delaware, 28th race of the Winston Cup season. Let's take you through the cars on the lead lap, beginning with the guy that won here 1 year ago, Marty. Matt, what race ago, Matt? Sorry about that. I set you up wrong twice.
Well, Bill, rookie Jimmy Johnson out front, pacing the field. The car was neutral, but he says it's a little bit tight and gets tighter in traffic. Bill.
Dale Jarrett on this set of tires is just a little tight. They really didn't make much of an adjustment last time, so it's just the tires. Goes around the 25 car, but he's obviously having a great run, currently in 2nd place. Right behind him, Rusty Wallace made a track bar adjustment. This is the best his car's been all day. What Rusty Wallace needs next time is a real good pit stop. Marty?
Bill, there's a lot of good news for Mark Martin. He's got the fastest car on the track. He's finally got the balance the way he wants it. Now, the bad news, he's 8 seconds behind the leader, Jimmy Johnson. He needs a caution to gain some track position. They'll stop between 3:30 and 3:40 for the last stop of the day. Matt?
Tony Stewart, remember what Mark Martin told him back in 1997. Do what you can, but don't over-abuse the tires, especially here at Dover. The car starts off a little tight in the center, but it does get better. He says the car is decent. Also, Jeff Burton, 3rd here back in June, hoping for another top 5 finish. The air pressure adjustment they took out on the left side tires has helped, but the car is still a little tight. Bill.
Kurt Busch has been running tight. Last time they made an air pressure adjustment, that's really helped the car. Chassis adjustment coming up this time. Dave?
Matt Kenseth is a car on the move. He restarted after cycling through pit stops 10th. He has now moved up to 8th. The car still just a little bit tight. tight. Ricky Craven is tight off, so they made an air pressure adjustment. Now he reports he's losing the nose on exit, and it won't stick to the bottom if he tries to run there. Ryan Newman, his damaged race car is still a little better, a tick loose, but a little better, and a great run considering the trouble he got into earlier. Ricky Rudd, who might have won this last 2 races here, if not for trouble, is in trouble again. He radioed in, the tires are not the same as they were earlier. They have trouble now with the feel of the race car. Ricky believes it's this set of tires. Alan?
And Ricky's troubles magnified here as Jimmy Johnson puts yet another person a lap down.
And the problem with this is, folks, is if right now the caution flag should come out and the leader, the pace car, picks up Jimmy Johnson, Rudd is captured 1 lap down. As soon as he's in front of if he can get in front of the 48, then he makes up 1 lap on the caution flag. Is something wrong with a 20 man?
Benny, Tony Stewart just came on the radio and said, I think I have a miss in the motor. They have told him to switch to the backup box. Chris Woodward is listening intently to see if that has fixed the problem. Tony has not reported back. He was poised to make a big gain in the points. They're hoping that switching to the other box will help fix the problem.
And Matt talking about the ignition box.
And remember, Tony's teammate Bobby Labonte went out of the race with engine failure earlier at lap 200. Check that at lap 115. So Jimmy Johnson leads 10 cars on the lead lap, coming up to the final round of pit stops in about another 12-14 laps. Under caution at Dover, 3rd place, Rusty Wallace, now a lap down and in trouble. You can see why.
Right front tire has gone flat on the Miller Lite car, and he's made some contact with the wall. All the cars are in the pits, Marty.
Mark Martin is in. He said the car is very good. He said it's up to you whether you want to make an adjustment. Ben Leslie, his crew chief, said, I vote to leave it alone. 4 tires, no changes for the points leader, Matt.
Marty, a track bar adjustment for Jimmy Johnson, and 4 tires down and away. The car started out neutral and then became a little tight, Bill.
Jarrett was tight on this set of tires. A chassis adjustment with wedge to try and loosen them up. The 88 and the 20, or 48 rather, drag race down pit road. Dave.
Matt Kence's car was still tight. They talked for a full minute on the radio about what they want to do. They settled on a wedge adjustment in the left rear, and he's out.
Down to just 10 on the lead lap. It was close between Jarrett and Johnson.
Oh, it was very, very close. There comes Jimmy Johnson, and there's Jarrett, just 1 fender behind.
So Jimmy Johnson's team holds serve on the set of pit stops, and we'll check out how Rusty Wallace brought out the caution flag. Turn 1. Watch that right front fender there. When rubber meets concrete, it's not a good thing. Yellow's out here in Dover. The Dover International Speedway, full of 140,000 NASCAR fans on a gorgeous afternoon, watching the MBNA All-American Heroes 400 that's under caution for the 6th time. Marty?
Alan, here in June, rookie Jimmy Johnson won at Dover, and last week at New Hampshire, rookie Ryan Newman won. Today, rookie Jimmy Johnson leads again. So with all this talk about young guns, people would think that rookie success in the Winston Cup Series is a newfound phenomenon. But you know, in 1987, there was a pretty good rookie by the name of Davey Allison. In 1987, Allison won 2 races, the second of which came, you guessed it, right here at Dover. And at the time, his 2 wins set a record for number of wins by a rookie. That mark stood for 12 years until the 1999 season. Tony Stewart won 3 races in his freshman campaign. Ford has not won at Dover since September of 1999, and they're trying to do it again today. Dale Jarrett is in second, and points leader Mark Martin's also been running in the top 5. Alan? Benny?
Okay, Marty, we're going inside our Roush Racing Team Caliper 360 car. Right front tires, we're always talking about the right front tire on these cars at Dover. I talked to the Goodyear engineers here this weekend, and they said the right front is the biggest problem they have at any racetrack on the circuit. I got to spin it all the way around to get to the right front. When this car goes down the corner, the right front hits the banking of the racetrack, it loads the thing. Statically, this tire weighs about 800 pounds. When it goes down and meets that banking, it goes to 4,000 pounds. What's that? 8 times, 5 times speed. I'll get this out in a minute. 5 times the weight of the car, the tire statically. It just tries to tear that tire apart. That's why in the June race here, they tore up the inside of these front tires because they were too hard. They slid across the racetrack. That's why Goodyear this time brought a softer tire to give them more grip, so that the tread would wear some and dissipate some of the heat. It looks like it worked, but all of a sudden, Rusty Wallace has a problem with the right front. I sure hope that doesn't happen to some of these other cars.
Alan, BP, tell Wally, I did not help you with that math. He's up here poking me in the ribs saying, it's your fault, it's your fault.
5 times. 5 times, yes. 4,000 pounds this weight.
All right. 76 laps to go at Dover. That I'm sure of. We'll come back in a minute on TNT. Back at Dover, half a lap from the restart. Little discussion down on pit road as to whether Ricky Rudd got his lap back or not. And we check the videotape and say,
no. He did not. Right there. You see the yellow flag waving right there. Circle it. And there's Jimmy Johnson coming across start-finish line. Now, if we watch as Jimmy Johnson goes through 1 and 2, as he's in turn 2, you'll see the car of 28, Ricky Rudd, finally passing him. But they've already taken the yellow.
And once you cannot improve your position once you take the yellow flag.
So NASCAR was right on that call.
Ricky Rudd is a lap down in 10th place. 9 cars on the lead lap. Green flag. 71 laps to go. By the way, after his problems, Rusty Wallace is back in 16th place, 1 lap down. Made a couple of pit stops for repairs under that caution. There.
Yeah, Robbie Gordon, I don't know what happened. He just kind of slid up the racetrack there and got his way back down and
got body slammed.
Yeah.
Looks like
he's got tire going down. Yeah. Right rear going flat, BP.
Looks that way. We see some smoke coming off his car. I don't know if that's where someone has knocked the fender in on the tire or something, but
look at the left rear.
Yeah, the left rear's rubbing the sheet metal, looks like, doesn't it?
Robbie Gordon, 11th place, 1 lap down. And that was Robbie's radio.
He looks like he's hanging on.
Well, maybe that started a little bit back before we saw it there.
Looks like he has some damage to the left front fender on the car.
Yeah, he does.
Lead lap cars mixed in and among all this. Matt Kenseth in the 17, Craven in the 32, Newman in the 12.
Marty, what's going on with Robbie?
Well, I don't know what this situation is. The left front fender damage we talked about earlier, he got that early in the race. He has said nothing on the radio except to place blame for what happened to him on Kurt Busch's shoulders. But other than that, he said nothing about the car.
Well, see, he just went flying up the racetrack there and nobody was near him. He's got something wrong there.
All right, let's check it out. What happened up in turns 3 and 4 a minute ago?
Now you see Robbie there on the high side. Right, and he just lost it. Kurt Busch wasn't anywhere near him.
And while he was trying to get the car back under control, Kurt Busch did go by and made some contact with him, but he had already gotten the car loose and it slowed down dramatically.
While Jimmy Johnson holds a solid lead up front, I just feel the intensity picking up here a little bit.
Oh, it always does here. This is where everybody's, pretty much out of patience, and, this is where every position counts right now.
Check out the silver car, Sterling Marlin, championship leader, going into the race in New Hampshire a week ago, lost that lead to Mark Martin. He has struggled all day today. He's 2 laps down in 19th place.
But he's 19th. He isn't out of this thing. Before, he was back in 30th. He was struggling, but back in 30th position. We've had cars eliminate themselves, and here he is in 19th.
Jeff Gordon's going to take a big hit today.
But Sterling Marlin is still only 70 points right now out of the championship hunt. So,
man, I am telling you what, Robbie's car is loose.
And he's doing a heck of a job to hang on to it.
Yeah, he is, because he is a handful. How about it, Marty? Any more news on the 31?
Yeah, well, since that, he has come on the radio and said it's way loose. So I don't know if that was caused by anything on the racetrack. I don't think so. They have had trouble with his car all day long, bouncing back and forth between tight and loose. And that damage from earlier did cause some problems. But very loose right now for Robbie Gordon. And it's very easy to tell it, too.
Pretty intense stuff back in the pack, but up front, it continues to be all Jimmy Johnson all the time. 63 laps to go at Dover. The Monster Mile, Dover International Speedway, where round 28 of the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship is playing out before 140,000 sun-drenched fans, and it's playing a tune very much to Jimmy Johnson's liking. Johnson has led 113 of the 343 laps run so far. And he is out in front of Dale Jarrett by 0.6 of a second with 56 laps to go.
All of a sudden, Dale Jarrett in the 88 car has decided to try a different groove and see a different line around the racetrack. Watch Johnson. Now this time he's down in the same tracks as Johnson. Last time he was high in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
Yeah, these guys are searching now, BP. They're searching for anything to get a little bit closer. A little bit closer to that 48 car.
Just before the race started, Jimmy Johnson got a pep talk on the radio from his team owner, Rick Hendrick. Here's what went on.
Jimmy, you have a copy, Jimmy. Got you, Rick. You guys have a good day today now. I'm poor, bud. I'm hungry. I am too, and I'd like to go back over there in that victory lane and get another one of those trophies. Here, you. Now that the more I think about it, I'm starving.
Starving for a win. Well, he's got to last about 55 more laps. And somehow he's got to hold off the 88 car. What are they saying now, Matt?
Well, Benny, in the pit stall right next to the 48, Rick Hendrick is in the 25 pit watching the 48 lead. In fact, with that last caution, he was clapping as Jimmy drove by. Jimmy actually saw him and stuck his hand out the window and gave him the little hang loose sign that the king always gives to people. But right now, his spotter told him the 88 is searching. You keep doing what you're doing. You're running faster, even with him trying to find a better line. So just hold station, buddy.
I think another guy that they got to start worrying about is that 6 car of Mark Martin.
Yeah. Because he gets better the longer they run.
Yeah.
And as I said, we've got 55 laps to go.
And there he is, right there.
There's the gap, first, second, and third. Mark Martin, the championship leader, coming into the race, started back in 32nd place. And he's running third. Let's catch you up on what's happened throughout the race so far here today. Trouble early for Jerry Nadeau and Ward Burton into the inside wall of lap 28. Ryan Newman running second. He went for a loop at lap 55. No harm, no foul there. He continued on. Todd Bodine, John Andretti tangle. Jeff Gordon, one of the championship players, into the wall. Lost 62 laps getting repairs in the garage. He's running 38th now, back on track. Hideo Fukuyama from Japan ran just over half the race before going to the garage. Rusty Wallace started on pole, had some troubles on pit road early, came back up into the top 3. Then just moments ago, a flat right front tire put him into the outside wall at lap 319 and dropped him off of the lead lap. Dale Earnhardt Jr. dominated early, leading 116 laps. Then various drivers like Tony Stewart, Ricky Craven, Dale Jarrett took turns dominating in the middle. But once Jimmy Johnson got to the front just past halfway, he's been just about unstoppable. Johnson leading 120 laps since lap number 204, hoping to feel the noise from the crowd at the Checkers. Drama today here at Dover, NASCAR-wise, whether or not Jimmy Johnson will pick up his 3rd win of the season, and what will the championship standings look like at the end of the day. New second place runner, speaking of championship, how about championship leader Mark Martin?
Yes, sir, and coming from a long way back to get there.
Here was the pass.
It's on the inside of Dale Jarrett in the backstretch. Jarrett is searching out, trying to get that high line to work for him. He goes up high. Mark keeps that Viagra car on the bottom, goes by him, and that's it. See you later, DJ.
And he's put about 7-8 car lengths on Jarrett since. BP, we've been kind of keeping an eye on his lap times versus Jimmy Johnson's. Kind of swings back and forth.
Yeah, he'll run a lap a little bit quicker than Jimmy, and then Jimmy will run a little bit quicker than Mark. So right now it's a standoff. Marty?
Only
we talked about early, BP, is coming through on the racetrack now. Mark's not very good on new tires, but on these old tires, his car really comes to life. We need to give an attaboy to his crew chief, Ben Leslie, for the 2-tire stops earlier in the day. Mark came down pit road, was the only one brave enough to put on 2 tires. They did it. It gained him a lot of track position, but more importantly, got him out of the back of the pack. Jeff Gordon was running with Mark on the track before that. When the caution came out, Gordon took on 4 tires, restarted 19th. 10 laps later, he got into a wreck with Todd Bodine. That's the same pack Mark Martin was running with. Now, did that 2-tire stop get Mark out of that wreck? We'll never know, but it certainly didn't hurt to have him up front, because, again, that was the same pack he was running with, and 2 of them got into a wreck.
Ben Leslie, the only guy who's really had the nerve to make the 2-tire call today, could be our Autotrader.com move of the race thus far.
That would have my pick.
Got him the track position he needed. He fell back to 13th after the 2-tire stop, and then after everybody else put some laps on their tires, started picking his way back up to 10th before they made the next pit stop, and after that, he was on the 4-tire sequence with everybody else.
Last time by, he was about 15 100ths of a second quicker than Jimmy Johnson.
Ben Leslie, Mark's crew chief.
And fairly new papa. What, about a month ago, he and his wife Shelley? Had a son.
Is that the cat in the hat sitting next to him? Thought I caught the brim of that little chapeau.
That's him. Jack and all of his Roushketeers.
Yeah. Pretty good day for Jack. Let's see. Mark is running 2nd. Matt Kenseth is 5th. Jeff Burton is 6th. Kurt Busch is 7th.
Pretty good to have all 4 of your cars in the top 10.
Yep.
A lot of ground up that lap there for Mark. He made a lot of ground up in traffic.
Let's check out our championship leaders, how they fared today. Mark started 32nd. He's currently 2nd. He has led today, collected those bonus points for leading a lap. Marlin, not led, struggling, mid-pack. Johnson, leading, has led the most laps. That's an extra 5 bonus points.
But unfortunately, Jimmy's got to look in the mirror. Every once in a while, he's got to look in the mirror. And when he does, Wally, he's going to see, there he is, Mark Martin.
Yep. 30 laps to go. Can Mark run Johnson down and pass him for the win? Closing in on the checkers here in Dover. Our final break during green flag action. Set up for the drama of the finish on TNT next. Back live at Dover on TNT. Race for the lead. Mark Martin has caught Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson is in traffic trying to get by these lap cars. That's Tony Reyes there in the 74 car. And I don't know if it's that what allowed Mark to get right on his rear bumper, or if Mark right now is just faster.
Well, like we said earlier, they've kind of been seesawing back and forth. One guy being 10th a second faster than the other guy. Every other lap they'd switch. But Mark did make up a lot of ground in traffic on Jimmy Johnson more than once.
Now he lost some there. See that big wiggle off the turn 4?
Jimmy Johnson ran across the 55 car Biffle, and Greg is running the high line, so he dove to the inside, but every time he came off the corners, Jimmy and Biffle ended up about the same spot. He could not use the entire racetrack, and we talked about it earlier in the show, how much you really need all the racetrack to make top speed around here.
Speed's at the line. Mark's a little bit quicker that lap.
Marty, what are you saying down in the Mark pits now?
Well, BP, we need to get credit where credit's due. Chris Morris is Mark Martin's spotter. He did an excellent job getting Mark through that traffic. And at the end of that, when they got through all that traffic, they're still going through it right now. As Jimmy Johnson goes around Elliott Sadler, he said, "You're walking them down like a dog. Keep doing it, buddy."
So we talked about sizing up the competition on Countdown to Green. Mark's got his Jimmy Johnson page out now. Sizing up Johnson.
Yeah. Well, he's got to get close enough.
Yep, that's first.
That's first.
And then you're going to see where his weakness is right now. I mean, you're going to see where he can't run, and you're going to try to force the issue. And obviously, Mark's car looks like it's working pretty good down at the bottom of the racetrack. Jimmy's a little bit higher. I think if Mark can get to him, and he can get underneath them to make the pass. He's got to get to him.
And even while concentrating on your line, because this is a very concentration-intensive track, hitting your marks and that kind of thing, he's able to look at Johnson's car and what it's doing. And
oh yeah. I mean, even though you're running your line, you're watching that 48 car to see what, you know, where his weakness is. Man, they're running just about the same line right now, so it may be tough for Mark to get around them.
Actually, looks like Jimmy's opened that gap back up a little bit now that they're free of the lap traffic. So maybe Jimmy's being a little cautious there in the traffic, Benny.
Could have been. Last time by, he was about a quarter second faster than Mark Martin.
Another lap car ahead. That's Johnson's teammate, Joe Nemechek, in the 25.
That should not be a huge problem for Jimmy. Just got by Tony Stewart a moment ago to move into 4th spot. What are they saying, Dave?
And before that, he got around Jeff Burton to move into 5th. And before that, he got around Kurt Busch to move into 6th. He restarted 7th, and he is driving the wheels off of that. The last change they made was a chassis adjustment and an air pressure adjustment to fix the tight condition. And I've been watching him come off of turn 4, and I'll tell you, they did loosen that car up, and Matt is really driving it.
Fuel is not an issue to the finish. Everybody stopped with 81 laps to go. So this is just a what you got on the racetrack run to the checkers, barring a caution flag here in these final 20 laps. 9 cars on the lead lap. Johnson, Martin, Jarrett, Kenseth, Stewart, Jeff Burton, Kurt Busch, Ryan Newman, and Ricky Craven. First car 1 lap down is 10th place, Johnny Benson. Very quietly having a decent run. Dave Blaney, Michael Waltrip, Jeff Green, Ricky Rudd, Rusty Wallace rounding out the top 15.
Yeah, Mark's not making any ground on him, so maybe right, Alan. Jimmy just being careful in traffic.
That, I mean, you know, maybe that's just a rookie thing. You know, he doesn't have all that, even though he's won here, he doesn't have all that much experience in that situation, and he doesn't want to throw a potential win away by forcing the issue. Yeah, I can see that.
And right now, the most important guy probably in the area is the Chris Osborne, the spotter for Jimmy Johnson. There you see all the spotters for all the teams. Chris has got to try to get this traffic moved out of Jimmy's way. What happened to Jimmy? He ran across 3 or 4 cars together. He can't afford to have that happen to him again. If he can, a single car is okay, but if he finds 2 or 3 cars, Chris has got to run around trying to find those spotters for those cars and say, guys, give us a break, let us go by.
But the problem is, if he comes across those 3 guys may be a lap or 2 down racing for position. So they don't want to just lay over either.
That's true.
Pit crew for Jimmy Johnson playing cheerleader for him, trying to coach him through these last few laps.
Come on, bud. Clear all around nice and smooth, buddy. You're the man. We wouldn't want anybody else in there, not today or any other day, buddy. You're the best.
Jimmy Johnson talked to him in the pit area before the race today. He and Jeff Gordon at the end of the season are going over to Spain.
Yeah.
To
going to run that, they call it the Nations Cup competition.
Some rally cars. Really looking forward to that.
Robbie Gordon did it last year. It's a pretty cool thing. They have a course that's like half road course and half dirt off-road course. And they get in these World Rally cars and they race it's like a drag race side by side in 1 lap around this course through eliminations. Robbie did it last year, ended up on his roof on fire. Said he had a blast.
But I bet he was fast when he got there.
He was.
Set the fastest lap ever to the world's record.
Jimmy Johnson, 14 laps to go here at Dover. Can you ever remember, BP, a rookie class this strong? I mean, there's been a lot of talk about the year Dale Earnhardt came in and so many other greats that came in along with him. But if Jimmy Johnson holds on and wins this thing today, he's going to have his 3rd victory of the season. Ryan Newman got his 1st win last week.
Well, you know, Matt Kenseth, Dale Earnhardt Jr., that class was very, very strong.
Yeah, very good. Just a couple of years ago.
Yes. Matt, what about Jimmy now?
Well, Benny, he hasn't really said a word since he got past the 55 car, but I had one crew member on a top 5 team say to me this morning that this is what their biggest worry was. The 48 would come out of the box and really have a great run here at Dover and get back on track. He kind of equated to one of those smart kids in class when you take a test and it's graded on a curve and he blows the curve. They were worried this team, which has overachieved all year, would overachieve again and really make a strong march here with 9 to go, and that's what they're doing today.
You watch that 48 car, he is driving that car smooth right now.
Well, he really is. Doing a terrific job.
And he's looking up in that mirror about 100 times a lap, too, to check to see if he's keeping the same distance between him and Mark, if Mark's catching him.
Jimmie Johnson started this race in 19th spot. He started at 40 points behind Mark Martin in the championship standings. He's not going to gain a lot of ground on Mark today, as Mark is running right behind him. There's a scary stat if you're a Johnson fan.
Then guess what? We're down to 10 laps to go.
Let's check Johnson's speed against Mark Martin's here as they come to 9 to go.
A little bit, not much, but a little bit.
It was close enough that it's going to be very hard to pass Jimmy if he gets there.
Exactly. A little bit of traffic ahead. They're closing in on about a half a dozen cars that are just ahead of them.
And that he does not want to see.
No, look at all those cars. And some of them side by side.
Now, those guys racing for position. That's the question.
Sterling Marlin is 21st.
Schrader in there? He'll see Schrader.
No. He just passed Schrader a few laps ago.
Okay, so
farthest guys ahead of them, Ricky Rudd and Rusty Wallace are racing for 14th and 15th. And that's about 3 cars ahead of where Johnson is right now. So we'll see.
Rusty Wallace and Ricky Rudd, is that who you said?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Remember back to June?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I wonder if they're going back in their log book.
Yeah.
And here we see this is exactly what he didn't want to see. 2 cars in front of him trying to make a pass. Sterling trying to get by Mike Wallace, and Jimmy's got to try to get by both of them.
7, now 6 laps to go.
Here you go. This is your chance, pal.
Oh, there he is. He's hung behind the 40 car. Now try to go to the outside.
In fact, this is your chance, pal. That was Mark Martin's radio.
And there he is, closing in. This is exactly what Jimmie Johnson did not need. And
5 laps to go.
5 to go. It's all you, pal. Work your magic.
Sterling gives way. But Mark is just a 2-car length deficit, now making 1.
Oh, and Sterling was in that spot Mark needed, BP, like we've talked about. You got to use all the racetrack. Sterling was there. Mark couldn't drift up to the wall, and it cost him.
And you can see how much distance it cost Mark not being able to, and once again, not being able to bring that car out to the wall just kills your lap speed around here.
That's all Jimmy needed right there.
And it's both of these guys that Sterling's racing for the championship, so he didn't have anything to gain by being in one's way over the other. How you catch him, where you catch him. Family here looking on. Jimmie Johnson's mom.
His mom would watch him race. My mom never watched me race. No, my made her nervous.
She is standing behind the pit box, isn't she? Matt?
Remember when Jimmie Johnson won his first race in California, his parents were not there, just his brother. When he won here in June, his dad was here because he drives his motor coach to remain close to Jimmy, but his mom, Kathy, wasn't. This could be her first chance to go to victory lane with her son.
He'll come to the white flag next time, will Jimmie Johnson. He got his first Winston Cup win in his 13th start at California back at the end of April. Picked up his second here in June at Dover. He's trying to score a sweep at the Monster Mile and boost his chances of perhaps winning the Winston Cup title in his rookie year. Final lap, and there's traffic ahead for Johnson.
He gets by Ricky Craven okay. And I think these cars in front of him, Kyle Petty, are fast enough that Mark will not be able to catch him.
Yeah, it was that side-by-side stuff that was going to get him in trouble.
His 27th birthday was this past Tuesday. There'll be a lot of candles to blow out in Victory Lane at Dover. Jimmy Johnson sweeps the Monster Mile this season. A great day.
Way to go, boys. We're back on track. Awesome, awesome stuff all day long.
A great day in the championship for Johnson. A great day for Mark Martin also. Tony Stewart did well. Jeff Gordon and Sterling Marlin, not as good. Matt?
And the guys are up on the wall to greet Jimmy Johnson when he comes by. Chad Knaus, the overachievers are back. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'll tell you what, this boy right here, this man can drive the wheels off a race car. We lost a little bit of momentum there partway through the season. We're just getting it going. You know, I'll tell you what, Jimmy's a great race car driver. These guys in the pits, they did an awesome job today. Average stop was like a 13.7. I couldn't be happier, you know. I hated so much that Papa Joe Hendrick couldn't be here. He's at home sick, you know, we wish him all the best. Who said the 48 team's too young to win a championship? We're fucking going for it.
Yes, they are. He's smoky burnout on the front stretch. The guys got it to lead in the pits. Jimmy did the rest.
Okay. I guess Chad's a little excited. Jimmy Johnson has won at Dover. Our post-race coverage cranks up when we come back to the Monster Mile. Jimmy Johnson is today's winner at Dover, and Chevy congratulates Jimmy of the number 48 Monte Carlo. Jimmy will tell you the only thing that comes close to Monte Carlo's reputation on the track is its reputation on the street. More champions depend on Chevy. We'll be there. To the winner's circle, and Bill Weber.
And Jimmy Johnson is here fresh from his burnout with an excited crew back in Victory Lane at Dover for the second time this season. At the beginning of the day, we talked about all the pieces of the puzzle to this Winston Cup Championship. This by far has been one of the biggest surprises. Congratulations, you swept Dover.
This is so cool. Obviously, you got a great team, the Lowe's team, Hendrick Motorsports, everything from the engine department, bodies, chassis, everything's where it needs to be, and I'm just glad to be back on track. This is going to do great things for the points battle. And right over here, these guys right here won this race. They got me out of the pits first. We're all pretty equal there at the end, but it was a pit stop to count him.
How about the 6 car coming behind you, Jimmy?
Lost my breath here. We were also equal. It just was track position, and I got caught up in some traffic, and he'd get to me, and then I could stretch it back out, and we were clean sailing from there.
Obviously, you picked up some points. You're second now in the Winston Cup standings.
That's awesome. We got 8 to go. Mom's here. Yes. Mom says.
Another family reunion for the second straight week in Victory Lane.
Well, Mom hasn't been to Victory Lane yet, so this is her first time in the ceremonies, and got Dad. Wish my 2 brothers were here. I know they're going crazy at home.
Well, in the pre-race show, Ryan talked about the support he got from his family growing up. Tell me about the support you got from yours.
I think there's a lot of similarities between Ryan's family and mine. Both of our families have been really big into racing and enjoy racing, and have brought us up in it and support us 100%. So it's pretty neat. Speaking of support, I got to thank all the Lowe's employee owners for supporting us. Hopefully we'll beat the head table in New York.
Jimmy, a lot of people are surprised with where you're at right now. Are you?
The way the season started off, we started off so strong, and then kind of had a flat spot there in the middle, and now it looks like we're back on track. So we'll see what these other 8 have for us.
And a victory shower from Chad Knaus. Alan, save us.
Jimmy Johnson led 170 of the final 196 laps of this race en route to his 3rd victory of 2002. He sweeps at Dover this season. And more post-race coverage when we continue in a moment.
Winston Cup Racing from Dover International Speedway. Brought to you by 1-800-CALL-ATT for collect balls. It's free for you and cheap for them. By Autotrader.com. Sell your car fast on the ultimate automotive classified site. By Ford. No boundaries. And by Pep Boys. Help for your car is just a Pep Boys away. Pep Boys. We're car people.
A terrific run for Mark Martin after a long day from 32nd to 2nd. Mark, how much could not using the whole racetrack at the very end there hurt you when you were trying to get to Jimmy?
Well, I think you're referring to the deal with Sterling. I caught Jimmy because of Sterling, and I lost him because of Sterling. So I guess it was a wash, you know. Lap cars got to be somewhere. They're all got their own race going. And to be honest with you, I could catch Jimmy, but when I got there, I would fall back with a front end push. He was just so fast Everybody else we would catch, we could get by so quick it wouldn't give me a push. But, we were that much quicker than all the other cars, including the 88 there at the end. But doggone 48, man, he was sailing. And, I wanted to give everybody something to get excited about, and just didn't. Just I got there a couple of times and just couldn't make it stick.
And it was also a great day in the points for Mark Martin, who remains the points leader. Dave?
Great day for Matt Kenseth as well. He started 17th, and early in the race, I didn't think you had a car that would end up anywhere near the top 10. You drove it to 4th place. How?
That's a good question. We didn't start off very good with our dog car. We were really loose, and we finally got the thing tightened up about halfway through the race, and got it too tight, and then we had to come back on. So we just kept adjusting on it every stop, had good pit stops, and was able to get up to 4th there at the end. So if we would have had a little more time with it, maybe we could have run 3rd, but the 6 and the 48 were pretty good.
These guys are on a good string of races. That's the 4th top 10 in the last 5 races.
Let's check how they ran today here at the Monster Mile. Jimmy Johnson, 3rd win of the season.
8 cars in the lead lap. Ryan Newman would be the last car. Ricky Craven, the first car lap down. He's lost that lap just about the time the checkered flag waved.
Dave Blaney, 11th place run today. Pretty solid for him. Rusty Wallace got trapped by that flat tire late.
And Kyle Petty, the best run for a Dodge today in 16th.
Sterling Marlin just never had it all day. A struggle.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. showed so much speed earlier on, will finish 24th, 4 laps down.
Jeff Gordon, 37th, involved in the crash. Back at lap 67, spent those 56 laps behind the wall getting fixed. Came back out, but lost some ground today in the championship. And the first driver's out. Jerry Nadeau, Ward Burton, involved in the first crash of the day back at lap number 27. So the championship standings now with 8 races to go in the season. Still a good one. 81 points to 4th.
And that Sterling Marlin, who was 2nd going into this race, has fallen back to 4th. And we see Jeff Gordon there in 5th, just 190, and Rusty Wallace 198.
So Gordon and Wallace losing some ground today. Sterling, just a moment ago, we talked with him about his race today.
And Sterling Marlin, this is not the day you wanted, especially here at Dover, not the day that you needed in points trying to get back into the top spot.
Well, we wasn't real good all week. And just real tight on the start and got it too loose, got lapped, but had about a 15th place car, is about all we had. And, we tried everything. Guys worked hard, and that's all we could do. I mean, we had the wrong gear, wrong spring, wrong shocks, wrong car, had the right beer, but other than that, we got stomped.
Now, you've got some races coming up. Do you feel like that's where you can make your push and get back to the top?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kansas coming up will be good for us, and we always seem to struggle here at Dover. I mean, usually finish from 5th to 10th, and we just missed it today. Way off, and we tested in Kentucky last week and for Kansas, and I think we had a real good test, so maybe we'll get back on track.
Sterling Marlin not out of it yet. He's looking forward to the rest of the races to get back on top.
Sterling got stomped. Sum up what he said. Short time ago, Dave Burns caught up with today's 3rd place finisher, Dale Jarrett.
DJ, I was watching your car at the end of the race. It seemed to come off the corners so well. Why couldn't you stay with the leaders?
Well, I was coming off the corner straight, but I was having to really throttle back because I was loose. We adjusted the car there on the last stop. Jimmy was beating me through the center of the corner, and I was a little bit tight there. We tried to help that. We did help that, but we got the car too loose off the corner.
All right, former winner Dale Jarrett comes home 3rd today after finishing 5th earlier this year.
Next week, the chase for the championship moves on to Kansas City, Saturday on TNT. It's NASCAR Busch Series racing from Kansas, coverage at 1 p.m. Eastern, starting with Winston Cup Happy Hour. Next Sunday, it's on NBC at 12:30 Eastern Time. Sprint PCS presents NASCAR Winston Cup Racing from Kansas. We start with Discover Card Countdown to Green. Next on TNT, Arnold Schwarzenegger in Kindergarten Cop, and on the West Coast, it's the world's most dramatic police chases. Jimmy Johnson must kind of like this place. A sweep in 2002 of races at the Monster Mile today. Pretty awesome.
Was terrific run for Jimmy Johnson and the entire crew today.
As Johnson celebrates in Victory Lane, Mark Martin, fresh from taking the championship lead last week at New Hampshire, rose to the occasion and extended his advantage today at Dover.